Chapter 211. Young Master didn't understand, but Ah Tong, who often surfed the internet, understood. Wasn't Miss Zhao's words a bit too hurtful? Could young Master's kindness be explained? He didn't see young Master being so kind before. He cursed crazily in his heart. However, when Song Yanqing heard Xiao Jin's words, he was a bit surprised and then laughed. You really know how to praise people. It was also the first time he heard someone praise him with the word good person. Xiao Jin nodded with a serious expression. I rarely praise others. People who could get a word of praise from her were very rare. Song Yanqing. It seems that I'm very honored. Ah Tong. He felt that these two people were quite amazing. However, what else could a bodyguard say? He could only drive silently and send Xiao Jin home first. Mu Zhenming's company was a bit far away. As a result, when he arrived at Feng Yingbai's house, he received the news that Xiao Jin was picked up by Song Yanqing. Of course, it wasn't the Feng family who told him this news. It was those gossipy people. They all wanted to know the relationship between Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing. The dignified young master of the Song family actually went to the Feng family to pick up someone and even dissed Feng Yingbai. Although they also felt that Feng Yingbai's family was particularly unreasonable, they could understand that he lost his only son and went crazy. There were also some who didn't make it to the show and came late to offer their condolences and felt particularly regretful. After Mu Zhenming heard the news, he looked at the Feng family villa area in front of him and finally chose to return with a complicated expression. He worried too much. His adopted daughter didn't need him to worry about anything at all. Mu Zhenming quickly returned home, but at this time, there was only Qiao Fei and Mu Xiangshan in the house. When Mu Zhenming arrived home, he looked at the two and asked, Where's Qiao Jin? She went to school. She still has to check the results after the exam. Qiao Fei was a bit puzzled. When she came back, I also asked about the Feng family. She only said it was fine. So it's fine? Mu Zhenming paused. Mu Xiangshan looked at Mu Zhenming with a meaningful gaze. No one told her about Qiao Fei, but Mu Xiangshan had some connections. Someone reported the news to him. He roughly knew what happened in the Feng family. The main point now was not the Feng family, but Song Yanqing actually went to the Feng family for Qiao Jin. The significance of this was too extraordinary. Compared with the shameless Feng family, Mu Xiangshan was now only concerned about Qiao Jin's gossip. When did she have such a good relationship with that person from the Song family? For so many years, Mu Xiangshan had only heard of his existence from the mouths of others. In addition, when he retired, Song Yanqing just began to take charge of the Song family. Mu Xiangshan had never seen Song Yanqing before. Mu Zhenming was also a little confused at this moment. I'm not too sure either. I'll have to ask her when I come back. After all, she's my adopted daughter. There are many things that I can't ask too much about. She was an adopted daughter. She used to be raised by Qiao Fei. Xiao Jin had only recently returned to the Mu family. It was impossible to establish a relationship so quickly. Mu Zhenming knew that many things were wrong, but he was in no position to talk to Qiao Jin. After all, she was 20 years old. Why should he, an uncle who was not related by blood, care so much? Mu Xiangshan snorted coldly. She lacks discipline. So look at her. Qiao Fei suddenly felt wronged again. I used to teach Jin very well. Mu Xiangshan. I didn't see it. Qiao Fei. Chapter 212. After Qiao Jin was sent home by Song Yanqing, she simply told Qiao Fei that she was fine and then went to school. No matter how big the world was, it couldn't delay the release of her exam results. And this time's results were not out of Qiao Jin's expectations. They were quite good. Not to mention how amazing it was, at least compared to the decline of her grades in the past 6 months. Her grades had recovered to their previous standards. Needless to say, her grades for the professional courses were excellent. With the help of Song Yanqing's notes for the basic courses, her progress was quite great. It was borderline excellent. At least next time, she should be excellent. Her grades couldn't be underestimated. In this school, there was a group of students who were particularly outstanding. Usually, their homework was guaranteed to be excellent. Basically, they were the top students in other schools. At least after the results came out, even the homeroom teacher specially praised her. You've made great progress recently. If you keep this standard, I don't have to worry too much about your studies. Now that you're a sophomore, you'll be a junior next year. Whether you want to take the postgraduate entrance exam or study abroad, you have to have a plan for your future. Xiao Jin nodded and smiled. I know. There was still some time now. She didn't think too much about the future for the time being. The most important thing was to solve the backfire of rebirth and get rid of the enemies who might still be alive. Then, she could plan for herself. This result could at least give Fei Fei an explanation. It would prevent her from nagging and feeling guilty all day long. Her grades were good, which proved that she wasn't affected by those things. This would make Fei Fei feel better in her heart. As for today in the Feng family, to be honest, Xiao Jin had no reason to be bullied. The Feng family was aggressive because they were used to being arrogant and domineering. They felt that no one in the world could control them. Xiao Jin reached out and pinched her wrist. A wisp of black gas drilled out from her wrist. No one could see it. Since the Feng family wanted to die early, she might as well fulfill their wish. She took the report card and was about to leave the school. Her footsteps were neither fast nor slow. Many people in the school were still muttering when they saw her. Is that Xiao Jin? Yeah, the one from the German department. She's so beautiful. Why is she different from what I remember? That's right. It's so strange. She's so pretty. Yet she wasn't chosen as the department belle or school belle. Some people were discussing. Many of them knew Xiao Jin, but there were also some who didn't. The school was so big. Even if the matter on the forum caused a ruckus, it would at most attract the attention of the active group. There were also some who buried their heads in the books of the sages. Now that they saw Xiao Jin, they were a little stunned. Her beauty was imperceptible. It was just that at first glance, she didn't seem to have much of an impression in the past. But now, looking at her again, she felt that she had become much more stunning. Her facial features were still the same, but they had become brighter, more lively, and had an indescribable elegance. His hair was so thick that it made many young men envious. Her back was straight, and her posture was very calm. At this moment, a girl walked towards her. The girl was walking in a hurry and bumped into Xiao Jin. The person who was hit didn't have any reaction. Instead, the person who was hit felt a sharp pain in his shoulder as if he had hit a rock. She rubbed her painful shoulder and subconsciously raised her head to apologize. I'm sorry. However, the moment she saw Xiao Jin's face, she swallowed the rest of her words. Chapter 213. It's okay. Before she could react, Xiao Jin had already calmly said these words and left. The girl was left in the same spot. Her expression was uncertain, and there was a hint of disbelief. She hadn't seen Xiao Jin for a while. How did she become so beautiful? She couldn't tell what had changed, but she was beautiful at a glance. She was so beautiful that she was eye-catching and made people jealous. She was Yusuke. She was the girl who had posted a post on the forum to slander Xiao Jin. She had been unlucky recently, but there had been an unexpected change recently. This made her panic. Now that she had met Xiao Jin, the shock in her heart was greater than the accident that had happened. Seeing the other party's radiant appearance, Yusuke bit her lip. She couldn't help but feel jealous. Compared to Xiao Jin, her family background in the imperial capital was not bad. At least her family could provide her with food and clothing for the rest of her life. However, Yusuke had been spoiled by her family since she was young. She didn't care about others when she did things, and she was only willing to believe in her own judgment. If others were just a little better than her, she would feel very uncomfortable. Now that she saw the girl she used to look down on getting better and better, while she herself was extremely unlucky because of a series of things, Yusuke suddenly had a bad feeling when she suddenly bumped into Xiao Jin. She stared at Xiao Jin's back. In an instant, she felt that the bewitching voice in her head these past few days had become louder and louder. Following her strange behavior, a strange fluctuation seemed to appear around her. An inexplicable force followed the smooth stone floor under her feet and jumped in the direction of Xiao Jin. With a bang, a stone slab behind Xiao Jin suddenly exploded. It didn't hurt her, but the sudden movement made her turn around. The stone slab behind her seemed to have been blown up by something. It was now scattered into pieces, revealing the green grass below. There were screams from the surrounding students. How could a perfectly fine stone slab fly out like that? Xiao Jin's expression was calm. His gaze shifted from the pile of shattered stone slabs to UCK. UCK had already felt an inexplicable palpitation earlier. Now that she saw the stone slab explode behind Xiao Jin and not under Xiao Jin's feet, she actually felt an unreconciled vexation, and because of Xiao Jin's calm gaze, her heart inexplicably felt weak. She was afraid that she would see through something, so she hurriedly left. No one would link this kind of thing to a person. This was an accident. Xiao Jin watched UCK leave. 2 seconds later, he turned around and continued walking out of the school as if nothing had happened. What did you do just now? If she had hurt someone, wouldn't they have a valid reason to take her away? In the dark, there were also 2 people who looked like students arguing. They were a man and a woman. The one who opened his mouth to question was the man, but the woman shook her head. I think something's wrong. The traces of demonization on her body aren't very strong. When she saw Xiao Jin, they deepened. Could it be that there's something about Xiao Jin that's bewitching? Also, this is a school. If she causes trouble, it won't be easy for us to clean it up. Don't forget that Xiao Jin has the ability to foresee. Could it be that she didn't know that this girl would attack her? Her expression was grave. She didn't react. I don't know what she's thinking, but since she's a student who hasn't completely demonized, there's still hope. Chapter 2:14. The boy scoffed. I've never seen a spiritualist who can recover after becoming a half-devil. The 2 of them were sent to follow Xiao Jin. Because they happened to be students of this school, they were responsible for Xiao Jin's whereabouts in the school. Outside, there were other spiritualists who were responsible for following Xiao Jin. Today, they bumped into UCK. This was because she was a tagger on the spiritualist's recent arrest list. The so-called tagger was a half-devil spiritualist who had yet to be completely demonized and remained to be observed. The other party had only recently awakened. The reason was still unknown. Her ability should be to manipulate a part of the air and transform it into a substantial airflow attack. Just now, she wanted to attack Xiao Jin. The girl saw that the situation was not right and stopped her. Otherwise, the airflow would have exploded under Xiao Jin's feet. If it exploded under her feet, what if Xiao Jin was really injured? However, the information said that Xiao Jin had the ability to predict. The girl was confused. At this time, she shook her head and said, Continue to observe. UCK is not our target. We can report to the headquarters first. The boy rolled his eyes, but did not object. The news of a stone slab suddenly exploding quickly spread throughout the school and was known by the leaders. Although the students were not injured, the principal was very worried about the school's recent feng shui. It was really not right. A large number of students had lost items. At a glance, it was obvious that it was because of all kinds of carelessness. There were also some minor problems. Now, it was the stone slab that exploded. There was a smell of bad feng shui everywhere. The principal was worried. The principal's hair was about to fall off. The principal decided to invite a master to check the school's feng shui. It was sneaky and could not be known by the students. Otherwise, a group of students who were receiving higher education would know that the principal had invited a master to check the feng shui. This school would not be good. Xiao Jin was taken home by the driver. Of course, she knew about UCK. At first glance, she even knew that she was about to become a spiritualist. What did it have to do with her? No matter the reason, as long as she became a spiritualist and attacked her, it was a spirit seed delivered to her door. It would be a waste not to accept it. She went home first and showed her results to Xiao Fei. Xiao Fei was overjoyed. Compared to her son, who often told her good news, she knew how the university judged the results. Xiao Jin's results were excellent. She was finally relieved. Fortunately, after a month, Xiao Jin was not affected by the previous events. He even studied hard. She was such a good child. Seeing how happy Xiao Fei was with her results, Xiao Jin said, Fei Fei, now that you're happy and they're not here, why don't you tell me about your past with Xinming? When Xiao Fei heard this, his face froze for a moment. But after a while, he felt a little complicated and muttered, You want to know? Xiao Jin nodded. Yes, I want to know. Xiao Fei recalled the past and was a little worried. Actually, there's nothing to say. He and I are the kind of... Sigh, how should I put it? To be honest, I don't quite understand why he liked me back then. His father's opposition to us back then was not without reason. Whether it was my family background, character, talent, or appearance, I'm not worthy of him. Xiao Jian comforted her. Fei, don't belittle yourself. You and Jinming are actually very compatible. You complement each other. Xiao Fei's eyes lit up. Really? Xiao Jin nodded. Yes, you're optimistic. Jinming is smart. Xiao Fei, was her daughter humiliating her? Chapter 215. In fact, what happened in the past wasn't that dramatic. It was normal that Mu Jinming and Xiao Fei fell in love with each other. However, at that time, Xiao Fei was indeed beautiful. She was the legendary naive and sweet girl, but her family background wasn't good either. Because Xiao Fei and Xiao Jin were the same, they had no parents. The reason why Mu Xiangshan didn't agree at that time was very simple. Xiao Fei couldn't provide help to the Mu family. The gap between him and Mu Junming was too big. At that time, he was still old-fashioned. Because he was in control of the Mu family, he had always been used to being arrogant. He also implemented a high-pressure policy on Mu Junming. In such a family, the father and son fought for decades. Only on the matter of Xiao Fei, Mu Junming didn't give in. Even after she and Xiao Fei had 3 sons, Mu Xiangshan still didn't agree to let Xiao Fei marry into the family. Xiao Fei felt that such a life was a little undignified. After all, she liked Mu Junming, but she couldn't stand someone rolling his eyes at her every day. She still had some backbone, so she didn't take her sons and left Mu Junming. It wasn't that she didn't contact Mu Junming for so many years, but she did adopt Xiao Jin to relieve her loneliness of not being able to see her sons. In addition, Xiao Jin was abandoned in an orphanage like her. Xiao Fei also really liked Xiao Jin and raised Xiao Jin to this age. Later, when Mu Junming completely controlled the Mu family, Mu Xiangshan couldn't take it anymore and went abroad. Mu Junming took Xiao Fei back. The two of them had been fighting for decades. As they gradually grew older, they became more open-minded about the past. There were no other disputes between the two of them, so Xiao Fei was very calm about returning to Mu Junming's side. Of course, because her 3 sons weren't by her side, they weren't very close to her. She also expressed her dislike for Xiao Jin, so she didn't take Xiao Jin back. Then, a series of events happened. Because of this, Xiao Fei still regretted. She was afraid that Xiao Jin would do something stupid. Now that things were over, Xiao Fei's eyes were still red. Do you think that Mom was particularly bad to you? If I insisted at that time, I could have taken you back home without your brothers. What's wrong with that? Xiao Jin's tone was relaxed. You don't have to think too much. You've already treated me very well. I was too extreme in the past. Everyone had to understand each other. Anyway, the matter was in the past now. She was no longer the cowardly Xiao Jin from the past. She would live her own life from now on. Seeing Xiao Jin's serious expression, Xiao Fei felt relieved. Xiao Jin continued to ask, so now that Xiangshan is back, he doesn't care about what happened to you? Xiao Fei smiled embarrassedly. What's there to care about? He's already so old. He's been causing trouble for a year. Since he chose to come back, it meant that he had at least accepted it. Otherwise, why would he come back? Didn't he feel uncomfortable looking at him? Xiao Fei didn't say it, but she could tell that Grandpa Mu's attitude towards them was awkward, but he didn't hate them. He was just like Xiao Jin's brothers. The corners of Xiao Jin's mouth curled up. Xiao Fei looked at Xiao Jin and suddenly said cautiously, Xiao Jin, actually, Mom has something to ask of you. Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows. Tell me, what is it? Xiao Fei was a little embarrassed. Mom thinks that it's fine if you call me by my name, but your Uncle Jinming, if you don't call Dad, at least call him Uncle. Chapter 216. Considering that Xiao Jin was hospitalized some time ago, Xiao Fei didn't mention it. She didn't mind Xiao Jin calling her by her name, but Mu Jinming was an uncle after all. She had to call him by his name. Of course, she didn't know Xiao Jin's real thoughts. Xiao Jin looked at her with a deep look. After a long while, he said, Okay. A month had passed. Xiao Jin began to accept everything in the modern world. As for calling him by his name would make her feel at ease. Because she knew that if she only called his name, Xiao Fei would think that she had a problem with the Mu family. Although some habits couldn't be changed, Some things still needed to be changed by herself in the modern era. She could learn the habits as long as she was willing to do so. Seeing that she agreed, Xiao Fei smiled happily. I know you are very sensible. As for your grandfather, Xiao Jin, I'll see. Xiao Fei. After talking with Xiao Jin, Musichu came back. Seeing that he was alone, Xiao Fei wondered, where is your brother? Musichu glanced at Xiao Jin behind Xiao Fei. I don't know. He said he had something to do. How could Xiao Fei not know Mu Qilian's character? He must have gone out to have fun with his bad friends. Instantly, he sighed silently. Musichu looked at Xiao Jin and said lightly, I heard that someone from the Feng family came to take Xiao Jin there this morning. Xiao Fei was stunned for a moment. You already know about this at school? Musichu paused. That was because the news had spread. Students also had their own circles. With Musichu's status, there were also people who told him such gossipy things. Now, it was the Song family that was related to them. Song Yanqing personally went to the Feng family to pick him up. There would definitely be people who were curious. Everyone was now asking if Xiao Jin had a special relationship with Song Yanqing. Their Mu family was involved. Naturally, they could not escape the questioning of their circle of friends. Xiao Fei saw his unreadable expression and said, I called him over to ask. It's not a big deal. Isn't your sister fine now? By the way, her exam results are out. She did pretty well this time. She looked like a proud mother. Musichu knew that Xiao Fei didn't know the truth. Most likely, no one had told her what had happened. However, this was also good. She did not have to worry about anything. He only exchanged a glance with Xiao Jin before turning his head away. I'm going upstairs to read. Xiao Fei waved her hand. Go ahead. Her second son had been preparing for a competition recently and was very busy. In this family, only Xiao Jin and she were here to relax. However, Xiao Fei was still thinking about Xiao Jin's future. She said in distress, Jin, is there anything you like? For example, learning to play the piano or something. But it may be a little late to learn it now. How about I take you to horse races or watch musicals to cultivate your temperament? Xiao Jin's eyes fell on her. Do you like these things? Xiao Fei. To be honest, I don't like them very much. Xiao Jin. Then ask me. Xiao Fei. Oh, I just want you to learn something to distract yourself. She deeply realized that although Xiao Jin was good now, he was getting more and more difficult to deal with. Don't you have anything else you want to do besides studying? It's good to watch movies with friends occasionally. Xiao Jin was thoughtful. Friends? Then I'll ask Yanqing out. Xiao Fei, I didn't ask you to ask a man out. Chapter 217. Xiao Fei felt that the relationship between Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing was too abnormal. She was a normal mother. Naturally, she would be suspicious. What's the relationship between you and Song Yanqing? Xiao Fei knew that the young master of the Song family was very powerful, but she didn't know how powerful he was. But she also knew that it was not something her family could touch. Although the Mu family and the Song family had some connections, it was not too special. Why did Xiao Jin suddenly have such a good relationship with Song Yanqing? We're friends. He's my friend. Xiao Jin said it so naturally that Xiao Fei didn't feel anything wrong. Perhaps his attitude was too calm. Although pure friendship between men and women was rare nowadays, Xiao Jin did look like a pure friend. Xiao Fei was certainly not that stupid. She was suspicious. You, like the young master of the Song family? Like? Xiao Jin looked at Xiao Fei in disbelief. Fei, what are you thinking? He and I are friends. Why can't I have friends? Xiao Fei. That was the truth, but she felt that something was wrong. Friends. Xiao Jin's tone sounded as if Xiao Fei was talking nonsense. Xiao Fei felt that she might be thinking too much. Yes, maybe they were friends? Moreover, Xiao Jin was indeed friends with Song Yanqing now. Even if Xiao Fei said so, Xiao Jin knew very well that she only regarded Song Yanqing as a good friend. After all, he was the only one who could talk about something with her. He was also good-looking. Why did Xiao Fei think that she liked Song Yanqing? What gave them such a misconception? Thinking of this, Xiao Jin corrected Xiao Fei seriously. Fei, I think your way of thinking is too dangerous. Xiao Fei, his daughter's serious tone made Xiao Fei feel that his thoughts were too wretched. She stammered, I think too much. After all, Young Master Song is a man. All these years, you've only said that he's your friend. Thinking of this, Xiao Fei also felt that his daughter's popularity was a little worrying. It seemed that ever since they came to the capital, Xiao Jin had never mentioned that she had any particularly good friends. The current Song Yanqing was an exception, and he had only met her recently. She was now the young lady of the Mu family. Wouldn't it be inappropriate if she didn't go out and socialize? Thinking of this, Xiao Fei asked, Xiao Jin, do you have any classmates in school that you're close to? If you do, you can invite them to our house. Besides, you're 20 years old. If you have someone you like, you can tell him. I'm not that kind of old-fashioned parent. Xiao Jin, no. Xiao Fei. After saying this, she looked at Xiao Fei in disbelief. Fei, are you too free all day long? How can you think of such a ridiculous thing? Xiao Fei, wasn't it normal for a 20-year-old girl to have someone she liked? Now Xiao Fei completely believed that Song Yanqing was just Xiao Jin's friend. Judging from her tone and attitude, she didn't seem like a little girl who was in love. Xiao Fei suddenly felt a little worried. She didn't have anyone she liked at the age of 20. Was it because she didn't like the people around her? Her brothers were indeed good-looking, and her friends were at the level of Song Yanqing. If Xiao Jin wanted to be moved by others, it seemed a little difficult. Chapter 218. Xiao Fei and Xiao Jin's mother-daughter talk didn't last long because Mu Jinming came back. Although he was busy with work now, since he was diagnosed with a heart problem, he was forced by Xiao Fei to come home every night for dinner to accompany the family. Even if he was free, he had to go to bed before 12 o'clock unless it was something that the company had to do. Otherwise, he would deal with it for Mu Qiji, who was abroad. During dinner, Mu Zilian, who was playing outside, was also forcibly summoned back. Because of what happened in the morning, when Mu Jinming came back and saw Xiao Jin, he specifically asked, "Did anyone go to school to find you?" He heard a little about what happened at the funeral and felt that what the Feng family did was unreasonable. He was also afraid that someone would really go to school to find trouble with Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin shook his head, no. Mu Jinming nodded. Then it should be fine. After all, Song Yanqing came forward. If the Feng family also came forward to find trouble with Xiao Jin, it would be a bit unappreciative. Feng Yibing's death was not the main reason. Xiao Jin was not the main reason. Feng Yingbai was not an important person in the Feng family. It was impossible to offend Song Yanqing for him. Mu Zilian also heard a little, but he didn't express any opinion about Song Yanqing taking Xiao Jin away. He just curled his lips and said, after Feng Yibing died, the things he did were exposed. The Feng family is in a bit of trouble now. Mu Jinming didn't directly stop Mu Zilian this time. Instead, he looked at him. What trouble? Mu Zilian saw that his father asked him, and he was proud of having an exclusive secret. You didn't see the internet, right? Feng Yibing died at the right time. During the investigation of the car accident, I don't know who exposed what Feng Yibing did on the internet. Although there was no information about his identity, he raped a girl and caused her to commit suicide a year ago. The girl's father also committed suicide after that was exposed. The Feng family reacted quickly. As soon as the news came out, it was suppressed. However, the person who leaked the news definitely knows about the Feng family and doesn't like the Feng family. No one dared to do this kind of thing before. Mu Zilian stopped mid-sentence. Mu Jinming was clear even before he finished speaking. In the past, people didn't dare to say a word because of the Feng family's power. Now that Feng Yibing was dead, he exposed it? Although it wouldn't have any impact on the Feng family, it was obvious that someone didn't like Feng Yingbai and wanted to expose and stab him in the back. Even if they couldn't hurt him, they wanted to disgust him to death. His son was already dead, and he was still being exposed. Feng Yingbai must be angry, although he shouldn't have the face to be angry. Suicide? It was the first time that Xiao Fei had heard about this. He was so scared that his face turned pale. Feng Yibing is such a jerk? Didn't you call the police? Where's the evidence? She refuses to admit it, and she has the protection of the Feng family. Mu Zilian was getting excited. Just as he was about to say something, Mu Xiangshan stopped him. That's enough. He hasn't fallen yet. Stop talking about it. Everyone. Didn't this mean that they were waiting for something to happen to the Feng family before discussing it? This was just one of the sins that Feng Yibing had done. He was a person who deserved to die. Being crushed to death in a car accident was considered a light punishment. However, the Feng family was indeed in huge trouble now. Karma had begun to show its power. In the past, no one dared to expose things about the Feng family, but now someone was trying to fish in troubled waters. Xiao Jian curled his lips. Everything had just begun. Chapter 219. The Feng family now knew that something was wrong. The fate of the family couldn't be protected. With Feng Yibing's death, other juniors also began to have problems. There was one who caused trouble abroad and was directly detained by the foreign police. He needed to spend a large sum of money to bail him out. It didn't hurt them, but it began to gradually disgust the Feng family. It seemed that everything couldn't be stopped once it started. Of course, flies don't bite seamless eggs. If the Feng family didn't cause trouble, how could there be today's result? Even if they suspected Xiao Jin, they had no evidence. Especially when Xiao Jin was at home every day as if nothing had happened. He went to school as usual and didn't have any other schedule. The Feng family couldn't find anything to use against him. In the Feng family's Azu's mind, array masters were powerful, but it was impossible for someone to be so powerful to do it without any news. Azu felt that someone had secretly used a lot of strength. They definitely didn't dare to show up now. Xiao Jin was just one of the suspects, not the mastermind. So the Feng family had no clue who did it. During this period, Xiao Jin's fortune-telling shop had new movements. Zhang Hongbin, who came to the shop next door looking for trouble, went to the hospital for a physical examination. He checked his brain, and the result almost made him break out in a cold sweat. There was a shadow in his brain. In the end, it was found to be a blood clot. Fortunately, it was found in time. The blood clot was big enough, and the part was not too sensitive. It could be removed by surgery. The reason for his blood clot was that he fell and hurt his head half a year ago. At that time, he was fine and didn't take this matter to heart. He never thought that it would form a blood clot. There were many conditions caused by a blood clot. The doctor said that it might be the same as ordinary people, but if it wasn't found in time, it was easy to have a sudden death within a year or two. Fortunately, Zhang Hongbin was checked early. If the problem was found, the surgery could be done as soon as possible. Zhang Hongbin was dumbfounded at that time. Then he reacted, and his whole body was cold. Generally speaking, if it wasn't for Xiao Jin's reminder, he wouldn't check his brain during the physical examination. For ordinary people like them, it was difficult to do a physical examination all year round. If the problem couldn't be found, he was also in the customer service industry. There was a high risk of sudden death at any time. Is this him? Zhang Hongbin immediately realized that he had met a true expert. Previously, he had thought that she was scolding him, but now he realized that she had saved his life. Zhang Hongbin broke out in cold sweat again. Didn't that mean he had offended someone? After setting the time for the surgery, Zhang Hongbin immediately went to Malbao to thank Xiao Jin for saving his life. Anonymous Buyer XX. Thank you, Master. You're a god of fortune. I found blood clots in my brain today. Anonymous Buyer XX. You saved my life. I'll drink a toast to punish myself for my previous recklessness. Today, yes. A master was indeed a master. Look at how calm he was in replying. What a good temper. Although they were all in the same profession, Zhang Hongbin was really convinced at this moment. After all, the blood clot in his brain was real. If it weren't for this master's reminder, he didn't know what would happen to him in the future. He didn't dare to say anything else, but when he saw that the master's cat treasure shop was so quiet, Zhang Hongbin's eyes turned, and he came up with a plan. His fortune-telling shop was opened casually. There was also a girl who did horoscopes with him. They were definitely the kind of people who were fooling around. Chapter 220. Zhang Hongbin had met an expert this time, so he simply put up an address under the link of his shop. It was considered an advertisement for Xiao Jin. After all, he had nothing to repay. He had the intention of finding trouble with Fang Ning, but who knew that he would find a truly capable master? This was what it meant to be unbelievably lucky. He worked in customer service, so he knew that if he continued to look for Xiao Jin, he might not be able to get anything out of it. However, he still had a glimmer of hope. Anonymous Buyer XX. Master, I help to advertise your shop in my cat treasure shop. It's just a small token of my appreciation. Anonymous Buyer XX. I have already made an appointment for the surgery. May I know if my surgery was successful? Since the other party could see the shadow in his mind, it should be a piece of cake for him to calculate the safety of his surgery, right? Today, leave it to fate. Don't be greedy. Jiang Hongbin was stunned. The other party's words meant to remind him that since he had already gotten a chance, he should not forget it. As for the surgery, the hospital had said that the surgery's safety rate was 99%. Unless he was unlucky enough to encounter that 1% accident, Jiang Hongbin immediately felt relieved. However, he was surprised and doubtful. Why would such an awesome master bother to open an online shop? If he found a random person, wouldn't he be treated like a god? However, gods had their own ideas. Perhaps the other party was just following the trend. It was not a coincidence that Xiao Jin saved Jiang Hongbin. Finding trouble was one thing, but the other party would indeed bring business to him. He was very tactful. After knowing that Xiao Jin was awesome, the first thing he did was to help her in the shop. Although their business was small, it was not bad. It would bring some benefits to Xiao Jin. At this moment, Xiao Jin received a message from He Yao on WeChat. The other party sent her a message. A demonized spiritualist appeared in your school. Her name is UCK. We have now received a mission to catch her. When Xiao Jin saw the message, she was a little interested. This time, He Yao had told her this news out of her own selfishness. She definitely wouldn't let the spirit group know about it. She told Xiao Jin that she clearly wanted Xiao Jin to find this demonized spirit reader master. This woman was quite interesting. Xiao Jin was indeed going to take UCK's demonized spirit seed. She had already expected this, but she was still grateful to He Yao. It's Jin Jinyo. Okay, but this time, she didn't intend to take it herself. UCK could be Song Yanqing's guinea pig. Generally speaking, everyone's awakened abilities were not only different, but also different in strength. Some people were born strong, while some people's awakened abilities were only average. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a difference in strength. Just how strong was Song Yanqing? Just relying on the awakening of the Rakshasa realm was not enough. Xiao Ji needed to test it out. This UCK was just right. Of course, she would not expose Song Yanqing. She sent a message to Song Yanqing, asking him to come out. She had something to tell him. Song Yanqing quickly replied. Xiao Jin glanced at the address He Yao gave. It was UCK's house. Xiao Jin didn't care why UCK awakened and demonized. But since the spirit group had already made a move, it meant that UCK had done something irreversible. Then, it wouldn't be difficult to take this demonized spirit seed. Chapter 221. UCK was in an apartment in her neighborhood. She was sitting against the corner of the bathroom in her house. She was wearing white silk pajamas and her face was pale. Her pajamas were splattered with red blood, and in front of her lay a dead woman's corpse. Her face was contorted, and her eyes were wide open. From the expression on the woman's face, it was obvious that she had died unwillingly and in an undignified manner. UCK never thought that she would kill her cousin. She didn't do it on purpose, but her cousin's words were too annoying. She had only taken a liking to her cousin's boyfriend, but she came to her and made a scene. UCK was noisy, and she just wanted her cousin to shut up. Who knew that she would lose control and kill her? Power surged out of her body, turning into a material weapon that drew the surrounding air and strangled her cousin's throat. She watched as her cousin's expression became more and more contorted. She watched as she struggled helplessly, and blood gushed out from her nose, eyes, and ears. Not only did she not stop, she even found her cousin's contorted face amusing. She had great power, and her cousin, who had always been aggressive, couldn't fight back at all. She had become the ruler of this area, but she didn't want to kill her. She was too weak, and in just a few seconds, she stopped breathing. UCK looked at her cousin on the ground. Although her face was pale, there wasn't much fear on her face. She was just a little vexed and scared. Since young, her cousin had given in to her so much. So what if she gave in to a boyfriend? Would it kill her to give in to a boyfriend? Yes, it would kill her. She was dead. UCK's lips curled up into a strange smile. Someone pushed the door open and came in. CK, Your cousin seems to be very angry. Her voice came to an abrupt halt when she saw the corpse on the ground. Then, a series of earth-shattering screams rose from the ground. Qian. The woman's shrill scream could almost pierce through one's eardrums, and it hurt Yusuke's ears. Seeing her mother come in, Yusuke seemed to have reacted. She revealed some fear and hurried over. Don't scream. Don't scream. It's not good for you to attract others. You can't let anyone see you. She could deal with one person, but she couldn't kill a group of people with her current strength. Mother would betray her. She would betray her. When she spoke, her eyes unconsciously revealed a trace of ferocity. The middle-aged woman in front of her had a pale face. She tried to cover her mouth, but she found that she could not control herself at all. She looked at her beautiful and intelligent daughter, but at this moment, she was like a man-eating demon. Yusuke knew that the person in front of her was her mother, so she could still control herself. She smiled and looked a little creepy. Mom, don't scream. It's easy to deal with it if there's no one. Don't make such a fuss. Go get me a knife. Before she could finish her words, her mother let out another shrill scream. It was as if her throat was going to break from screaming. Her mother instinctively ran outside. Stop talking. I told you not to scream. Yusuke felt very irritable, completely irritable. The moment her mother dashed out of the door, a suffocating force enveloped the air and forced her mother to flee. However, in the blink of an eye, the steel door of the apartment suddenly opened. A small knife shot out like a bullet, piercing through the air and shooting towards Yusuke. Chapter 222. The knife stabbed into Yusuke's shoulder. She couldn't dodge in time and screamed. Fortunately, the high-rise apartment had good soundproofing. If they were so noisy, the neighbors would have called the police. Yusuke clutched her shoulder and fell down. She looked up and saw her mother falling into the arms of a woman in a red coat. The woman had a high ponytail and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. She looked valiant and sharp. Behind her were 3 other men and a woman. Hiao saw her and was furious. She's already demonized to this extent. Why did you only call us to catch her now? They saw the body on the ground and their faces turned ugly. Especially Yusuke. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Yusuke. Yusuke immediately held her head and screamed as she rolled around on the ground. Yusuke's mother, who was caught by Hiao, had already fainted. Ishuadai was also shocked by the scene in front of her. She swallowed her saliva. Damn, she killed someone. Is she completely demonized? Let's not talk about it. Yao's face darkened. She stretched out her hand and the knife in Yusuke's shoulder flew out. Because of this, Yusuke screamed in pain again. At this moment, she gritted her teeth and suddenly waved her hand forcefully. In an instant, several strange air currents appeared in front of Hiao and the others and directly exploded in front of them. When Hiao and the others raised their hands to block, Yusuke crawled up from the ground and ran into her room. With a bang, she locked the door. Her actions were sudden. Ishuadai didn't expect her to have the strength to fight back after being attacked by Yusuke. She glanced at Yusuke subconsciously. Yusuke's face stiffened. Hiao threw Yusuke to Hua Yinming and waved her hand. The door handle opened, but Yusuke's voice was gone. A series of banging sounds came from outside. Hiao saw that Yusuke's window was wide open. She walked over to take a look and saw that Yusuke was actually jumping down along the outside of the air conditioner. There was an air conditioner installed on almost every floor of the apartment, and it was hung in the same position for aesthetic reasons. However, it was too high up, and there was no protection around it. Hiao didn't expect Yusuke to be so bold as to jump down. Of course, she could control the air and stabilize herself. Seeing Yusuke jump down slowly, Hiao's face darkened. There were plenty of surveillance cameras outside. She would be too conspicuous if she made a move. Moreover, they were usually in charge of capturing people alive. If they were to make a move now, Yusuke would most likely fall to her death. In just a short while, Yusuke had already jumped halfway. She controlled the air and jumped very quickly, which attracted the attention of the other residents. When they saw someone jump down, they were dumbfounded. Hiao and the others turned around and ran downstairs. If they took the elevator, they might be faster. However, When she reached the last few floors, Yusuke had already skillfully controlled the air to reduce her speed. She directly jumped down from the external machine. After a few floors, she landed on the ground. Although she fell in a sorry state, she was not seriously injured. At that time, he ran out of the neighborhood with a ferocious expression. There was something wrong with Yusuke's ability. When Hiyao saw the red that represented her land outside the neighborhood, her expression changed drastically. After being attacked by Yusuke and himself, she was still able to control herself and escape. Chapter 223. Yusuke ran onto the street in her blood-stained pajamas. Her crazy appearance attracted the attention of the passers-by. No one knew what was going on. Some suspected that she was crazy, while others called the police. But there was no doubt that it was dangerous for Yusuke to appear in the crowd. She could expose her abilities and take the passers-by hostage. Usually, the spirit group acted alone and rarely received help. Because of the complicated internal structure, the various groups rarely cooperated. At this moment, Hiyao felt extremely lucky that she had called Xiaojin. Moreover, it was almost nighttime. Under the shocked gazes of the passers-by, Yusuke ran forward. She knew that she was in danger, and she had to run away. If the group behind her caught her, she would definitely die. She would die. She couldn't die. She hadn't lived long enough. How could she die? However, when she ran to a place, her body trembled imperceptibly. Then, she froze in her tracks. It was an elegantly decorated coffee shop with a low level of luxury. Across the road, she saw the second floor opposite her. In front of the transparent glass window stood a tall figure. He was wearing a cream-colored high-collared woolen sweater and a blue coat. He was holding a cat with tiger stripes in his arms. There was a faint smile on his face. Looking at her, he was cold and quiet, like the bright moon in the sky. His face was as handsome as a banished immortal. He was like a god. He had the most elegant and compassionate light. Every part of his body exuded a seductive aura. It made Yusuke want to get closer to him, as if she had smelled the most delicious candy. However, she froze in her tracks. There was an external voice in her mind. It was absolutely oppressive, but it also had a fatally seductive and gentle tone. Go back. Go back. She wanted to go back. She knew that she shouldn't go back. She couldn't go back. Yusuke froze in her tracks. That seductive voice occupied more and more space in her mind. Her eardrums and her thoughts were all occupied by this voice. Go back. Go back. Like an endless cycle, this word kept echoing in her mind. Her body stiffly turned around. Step by step, she moved back in the direction she came from. She couldn't go back. She would die if she went back. Tears flowed out of Yusuke's eyes. She couldn't control herself. Her body seemed to be controlled by someone else. When Hiyao and the others appeared in front of her, she despaired. She could not summon the power in her body. It was as if she was being controlled by the word. Every organ in her body, other than her brain, was fulfilling the meaning of the word wholeheartedly. Hiyao and the others were surprised to see Yusuke slowly walking back. However, she had already attracted their attention. They immediately went forward to take Yusuke away, using the Soul Group's tools to ensure that Yusuke could no longer fight. Only then did they relax. Hiyao subconsciously looked around, but she didn't see that familiar figure. However, Yusuke's return for no reason had nothing to do with the other party. And in the same cafe, what Yusuke didn't notice earlier was that by the window downstairs, a girl was sitting there with her chin propped up. Her seaweed-like hair was draped over her shoulders, and the corners of her lips were curved. She was as beautiful as a painting. Chapter 224. Someone passed by and saw this scene. He couldn't help but put her face in the photo album on his phone. Xiaojin didn't stop him, because it would disappear for no reason. She ordered a cup of coffee and added a few packets of sugar to get rid of the bitterness. Her phone vibrated. She looked down and saw a message from Song Yanqing. Song Yanqing, okay. Of course, she saw it. Song Yanqing's strength was stronger than she thought. There was something strange about Yusuke. She wasn't an ordinary wizard. Someone maliciously put an enhancement array on her. This was something that only an array master could do. They could increase the potential of a spiritual psychic in a short period of time, and then destroy it. A wisp of black gas dissipated on her fingertips. She set up an array nearby. When UCK came over, she took the spirit seed. This enhancement array wasn't set up by the Feng family. She narrowed her eyes slightly. It seemed that another force was starting to emerge. Putting an array on an ordinary female student? Unfortunately, even if there was a spirit seed, she didn't have many chances to investigate. At this moment, a woman with dyed blonde hair pushed open the door of the coffee shop. She was tall and had a great figure wrapped in a coat. She walked in a pair of high heels and looked like she was in a hurry. She ordered 2 cups of coffee at the counter and packed them. What attracted attention was that she was wearing sunglasses and a mask. This kind of equipment was either a celebrity, an internet celebrity, or a pretentious one. Unfortunately, it was covered so tightly that it was hard to see who it was. Xiao Jin recognized it at a glance. It was Fanjin. She was a little surprised. It was mainly because Fanjin's image in the past was that of a well-behaved, mature woman. She didn't deliberately pretend to be young at 30 years old. The feeling she presented on TV was that of a mature woman. In the past, her hair was pure black. Now, her hair was dyed blonde and curled at the bottom. She covered it so tightly. In addition, she hadn't appeared for a while. She wasn't in the entertainment industry anymore, so the news was worthless. There weren't many paparazzi chasing her. Even if fans stood in front of her, they probably wouldn't be able to recognize her. Other than that, Fanjin was calm. She just stood there quietly and waited for the coffee to be ready. However, as she was waiting, something caught her attention. She turned around and saw Xiao Jin. She was stunned by Xiao Jin's temperament for a few seconds. Even Fanjin, who had seen many handsome men and beautiful women, was shocked at that moment. The girl in front of him had a kind of sacred beauty that even the entertainment industry didn't have. It was probably the kind where no one would say that the girl in front of them was unsuitable to play the role of a deity. He looked like he had walked out of a comic book. The other party stared at her and smiled. Beautiful people looked good when they smiled. Fanjin nodded slightly at Xiao Jin. Then, he walked out with 2 cups of coffee. Outside, a low-profile car was parked. Fanjin walked over, and the chauffeur revealed an exquisite and lazy handsome face. He gave Fanjin an obedient smile. "Sister." Fanjin nodded. As he got into the car, he casually said, "There's a particularly good-looking girl inside. If I were still in the industry, I would definitely ask my manager to approach her." Phoenix Chinen raised his eyebrows slightly. "No matter how pretty she is, she's not as pretty as sister." Fanjin smiled. "You're such a sweet talker." "I'm serious. That girl is the only one I've seen. She looks so otherworldly. It's quite novel." Chapter 225. Actually, Feng Qinan saw it. He saw Xiao Jin sitting inside and knew that Fanjin was talking about Xiao Jin. After all, the only one who could give people such a feeling was Xiao Jin. Actually, there was also his cousin. Recently, he didn't know what was going on. But the more he looked, the more he felt like he was going to become an immortal. No wonder these two were friends. However, now was a special time, so Feng Qinan wouldn't go up and greet Xiao Jin. He just smiled obediently and said, "No matter how different a woman is, she's not as beautiful as sister." Fanjin waved her hand. "Don't be so sweet. When I left the industry, I was in a hurry. There are some things that I haven't dealt with yet. Next month, I will go to a remote town to see the left-behind children. I promised them that I might not be able to come to your birthday." The smile on Feng Qian's face disappeared for a moment, and then he smiled brightly again. "It's okay, sister. This means that you keep your promise. Can I go with you? I've never been to such a place. My mother used to ask me to do some charity. My birthday is celebrated every year, but it's meaningless. If I go with you to see the left-behind children, will it make my birthday more meaningful?" Fanjin was stunned. "You want to go with me?" She thought of something and frowned. "I don't mind, but you've never been there before, so you don't know. The conditions in those places are really bad. You've never experienced such hardship, so I'm afraid you won't be able to take it." "The conditions aren't important. What's important is that it's meaningful, right? Sister, don't look down on me. Although I'm rich, it doesn't mean I don't know these things. When I was abroad, I worked part-time. How could this be a concept? Fanjin smiled bitterly, but seeing Feng Qinan smile at her, her heart softened. Okay, I won't stop you if you want to go. Feng Qinan's eyes curved. Okay, sister. Xiao Jin finished his coffee and went upstairs to find Song Yanqing. There was a private room on the second floor. Song Yanqing was sitting there, playing with the cat. Ding Dang, who was walking around the table, saw that Xiao Jin had arrived and meowed before jumping into Song Yanqing's embrace. Song Yanqing stroked its belly, and it lay on its back, allowing Song Yanqing to stroke it without any dignity of a cat. Xiao Jin sat opposite him and asked straightforwardly, "Did you feel anything when you controlled her just now?" Song Yanqing looked at Xiao Jin and smiled faintly. "I felt a struggle. It was very light. If it was very light, it meant that it could not be blocked at all." Song Yanqing's ability was awakened by the stimulation of the Rakshasa realm. UCK was a spiritualist who had been bewitched by the demonization, so it was natural that she couldn't block Song Yanqing. His ability was that of a spiritual speaker. His thoughts were real. Since he wanted UCK to return, UCK had no choice but to do so, even if she didn't want to go back at all. This was the terrifying part of a spiritual speaker. They could easily control your actions. This was under the condition that UCK had some reaction. At a high level, Song Yanqing could even easily control a person's thoughts. If a person's thoughts were controlled, so the existence of karma had its benefits. Without restrictions, this world would have long been taken over by spiritualists. Xiao Jin saw him stroke the cat and lowered his eyelids. He suddenly reached out and said, "I want to touch it too." Okay. Song Yanqing lifted Ding Dang up without any hesitation and handed her over. Ding Dang saw that her master didn't even think before selling her out, and she let out a pitiful cry. Her body stiffened, and she stopped moving. Chapter 226. Xiao Jin did not like furry things, so when she touched Ding Dang, she felt a soft but stiff body. Ding Dang, don't dare move, don't dare move. Xiao Jin had never touched a cat before. She had never even raised a pet before. Even if she did raise one, it would definitely not be a weak and powerless creature like a cat. So she did not even know how to hug Ding Dang. She only used one hand to grab onto its back. Because it was lying on its back and its body was stiff, she felt as if she was grabbing onto a toy. Upon seeing this, Song Yanqing found it a bit funny. Ding Dang is just not familiar with you. You can touch its stomach or the back of its neck. If you slowly touch it, it will relax. Xiao Jin placed Ding Dang in her arms and touched its stomach. Its stiff paws reacted a bit. It raised its paws as if it wanted to block its stomach, but found that it could not block it. Its golden eyes looked at Xiao Jin, not fiercely, but with a bit of fear. Animals have intelligence. It can distinguish which are the most dangerous existences. Without a doubt, Xiao Jin was this dangerous in its eyes. Xiao Jin touched it a few times and lost her patience. She put Ding Dang back on the table. Not fun? Ding Dang saw that it was let go, but it seemed to be uninterested. Its eyes stared at Xiao Jin, but its body automatically rolled around, and after 2 rounds, it rolled back into Song Yanqing's arms. Song Yanqing could not help but laugh. Raising a cat is like this. It seems like you don't like small animals. They are very troublesome, aren't they? Xiao Jin only stared at him. Who wants you to feed it? Who wants you to tease it? If it can't serve you, then what's the point of raising it? Song Yanqing, his shoulders shook as if he was amused by Xiao Jin's naivety. He looked at her helplessly and said, "That's what it's like to have a pet. It's better to have something to accompany you than to be alone, isn't it?" Xiao Jin felt that his words had another meaning. She paused. "I'm not alone now." She had Xiao Fei and the others. In the past, Xiao Jin did not have the concept of family. She seemed to have forgotten how she came to be. It was as if she was born from heaven and earth, but also as if she had parents. But it had been too long, and she had forgotten. Even if she did, her parents had already disappeared in the long river of history. Her current parents were Xiao Fei. "Of course you're not alone. You have your family, and you have me." His voice was very gentle. He was just telling a simple fact, and he said it so naturally. It didn't make Xiao Jin feel that it was unreasonable. She nodded. "Yes, and you, my friend. His eyes flashed as he rubbed Ding Dong's belly, but did not say anything. After a long silence, Song Yanqing asked her, "Did you get the spirit seed?" Xiao Jin nodded. "There is a problem with this UCK. She has been given an amplification array, something that can only be done by an array master. It can temporarily increase her strength. I need to investigate her. I have a feeling that this array master is related to the person who changed your fate." Song Yanqing's hand that was stroking the cat paused, and his voice was calm. "Then why did he give an unrelated female student an amplification array? Even if he wanted to cause trouble for us, this girl is too far away." "Yes, so I need to know more about her. I'm waiting for He Yao's results." Song Yanqing nodded. "I will also investigate her." He hugged the cat and stood up. "It's about time. I'll send you back." Chapter 227. Song Yanqing sent Xiao Jin back. Of course, he still didn't enter the Mu family's house. Xiao Jin also didn't have the intention to invite him into the Mu family's house. Firstly, Song Yanqing's identity was special. If he was willing, he would find a suitable time to visit. Xiao Jin returned home. Not long after, He Yao sent a message to Xiao Jin. "He Yao, UCK's spirit seed is gone. They were ordered to bring UCK back this time." The result was as expected. The spirit seed was gone. This time, Xiao Jin didn't even appear. He Yao couldn't figure out how Xiao Jin did it. Even if he could snatch a spiritual seed, it was too scary for him to take the spiritual seed of a spiritual psyche master without even showing up. She even suspected that Xiao Jin didn't appear at the scene. "It's Jin Jinyo." Oh, one word. The coldness made He Yao understand that the spirit seed was taken away by Xiao Jin. Although she didn't understand how he did it, He Yao was very clear about one thing. To be able to do this, Xiao Jin's power was beyond her imagination. After all, she was the leader of the spirit group. No matter how fast she had to be quick-witted. The spirit seed had always been something they didn't understand. It represented the ability of a spiritual reader, but others didn't have the ability to steal it. If Xiao Jin had this ability, why did he use the spirit seed? Furthermore, she had once said that the spirit group's headquarters might not have personally dealt with the demonized spiritualist when they brought the demonized spiritualist back. He Yao felt that there was a very serious premeditated plan behind this. Unfortunately, with her current status, she couldn't interfere with the headquarters at all. UCK's spirit seed was gone again. Everyone in the group was speechless. Even if there were people who were suspicious, they didn't even see Xiao Jin's shadow this time. In the face of the headquarters personnel who came to receive them, they couldn't explain themselves. This is the third time. Yu Xia was parachuted into this unit, so he didn't understand what was going on. However, Yu Xi was the third person he had dealt with without a spirit seed. The first time, the headquarters had sent him over because they were suspicious. The second and third time, he didn't even know what was going on. The people he caught just didn't have a spirit seed. Without a spirit seed, how could he possess abilities? When they captured Yu Xi, she must have had a spirit seed. Why did the spirit seed disappear after she was captured? Not to mention the headquarters, even Yu Xia himself suspected that there was something wrong with He Yao's group. Ishuadai couldn't stand his anger. It's useless even if you're angry. How would we know where the spirit seed went? Weren't you there the whole time? If they had this ability, why would they still be members of the team? Yu Xia's face stiffened. He looked at He Yao, but He Yao just turned her head and said coldly, "We can only let the headquarters investigate." In other words, it was useless to ask her. Even if she knew, she couldn't say it out loud. Xiao Jin had only told He Yao about the spirit seed. In the group, Ishuadai and Hua Yiming had seen strange situations and were suspicious of Xiao Jin. However, the three of them at least maintained a certain level of consensus. Xiao Jin might not be someone they could afford to offend, so there was no need to create more trouble and say it out loud. Anyway, they didn't do it. If there was trouble, it should be the headquarters. As for Chow Kai, he was even more confused. Chapter 228. UCK was handed over to the spirit group headquarters that night. After investigation, they found that there was indeed no spirit seed. The spirit group felt uneasy. There was an inexplicable existence that could absorb the spirit seed of a demonized spiritualist and use an ability that they didn't know. This was already the third time. The spirit group couldn't let it go. Zhongli Shiyu and Zhongli Painting once again appeared in Xiao Jin's living area. The only clue they had was that the demonized spiritualist had come into contact with Xiao Jin the previous 2 times. This time, Xiao Jin didn't appear, but she appeared in a nearby coffee shop. In other words, she was the only person other than the members of the spirit group present in the area where the demonized spiritualist appeared 3 times. Moreover, she was also a spiritualist. Xiao Jin could erase the traces of the surveillance video, but she didn't do so, because she didn't care whether the spirit group suspected her or not. What was the use of suspicion? They could only suspect. She erased the traces of Song Yanqing's appearance. After all, she was already exposed on the surface. Song Yanqing could stay in the dark as a trump card. The spirit group realized that Xiao Jin was a girl with a big problem. This time, they directly sent Zhongli Shiyu and Zhongli Painting over. Transfer schools. Just as they were approaching Xiao Jin. Even though the school was about to be on holiday, Xiao Jin, who was now a second-year student, still had 2 years of school. As long as they were in the same school, it would be easy to investigate. Xiao Jin wasn't surprised when she saw Zhongli Painting appear in the school. She just had a faint smile. Zhongli Painting looked delicate and weak. Her surname was special, and she was in the same German department as Xiao Jin. Her brother was in the finance department next door. When she saw Xiao Jin, Zhongli Painting revealed a friendly smile. Xiao Jin, we meet again. Xiao Jin smiled. There aren't enough people monitoring, so now you have to do it personally? The Zhongli family had quite a bit of prestige in the spirit group. Sending these 2 siblings to investigate Xiao Jin meant that they valued Xiao Jin very much. Zhongli Painting's smile froze. In any case, they were in school. She thought that Xiao Jin would put on an act, but she directly said it, making Zhongli Painting feel a little embarrassed. It's not that. It's just a problem with my studies. I transferred here normally. You don't have to think too much. Even if it was the truth, he couldn't say it out loud. How disgusting would that be? Xiao Jin only nodded. That's true. After all, this school is not bad. The German department is a good major. In fact, there were several members of the spirit group in this school, but without this identity, they were like Yi Shuadai. They had to live their own lives, and different members had different missions. There were exposed members of the spirit team, and there were also spiritual readers who were not exposed. When Zhongli Painting saw that Xiao Jin was about to leave after speaking, she felt a little timid. She wasn't a bad person, but the spirit group was suspicious of Xiao Jin. She had always grown up under the protection of her brother. In the face of Xiao Jin's direct attack, she was at a loss. She wanted to call out to Xiao Jin, but she didn't have a proper reason. She felt a little frustrated. She knew that it was a little impossible for her to get close to Xiao Jin by being his friend. After school in the afternoon, the school announced that there would be a summer vacation activity. A group of outstanding students would be specially selected. Of course, they could also sign up themselves. This activity didn't seem to be anything special, and it didn't have much to do with ordinary students. However, Musilian and Musichu had both signed up. This was because Xiao Jin had signed up. Chapter 229. It was a little surprising that Xiao Jin signed up. Musilian and Musichu felt that she was not the kind of person who would like to go abroad. It was not an understanding, but an intuition. However, Xiao Jin signed up this time. They only found out that Xiao Jin signed up when she came back and told Xiao Fei that night. Xiao Fei was quite happy. Summer activities? Going abroad? That's good. You don't have to stay at home all the time. You can go abroad to broaden your horizons. It's quite fun overseas. Do you want Mom to go with you? Xiao Jin. No, I want to go with the school. Xiao Fei. Sob sob sob. My daughter is cold and heartless. Musilian was a little surprised. Why did you sign up for a summer activity? That activity is actually not very useful. It's just for fun. Although there was an exchange activity, it was just going to take a look at the school. There were very few basic exchange activities. The purpose of this activity was to give students who were not very well off a chance to apply for an exchange because all the travel expenses were paid by the school. Logically speaking, Xiao Jin was not on this list now. Xiao Fei did not quite agree. Since Jean wants to go abroad to have fun, she can go too. Your younger sister has never been abroad in her entire life. In the past, Xiao Fei did not have the means to let Xiao Jin go abroad. Now that she had the means, she definitely wanted Xiao Jin to go abroad to broaden her horizons. Musichu also looked up at Xiao Jin. If you want to go abroad, we can go together during the summer vacation. The school is going to the US this time. There's actually not much to go. If you want to go, you can go to other countries in Europe. There are many scenic spots. Xiao Jin said lightly, no, I can still learn if I go with the school. I'm doing it for my studies. Musilian. It was fine when she did not say it. Now that she said it, he suddenly did not believe it. I see. Xiao Fei was supportive, but Mu Zhiming suddenly said, in that case, don't go alone. Qi Lian and Qi Chu will accompany you. With her two brothers around, her safety was at least somewhat guaranteed. Xiao Jin nodded, indicating that it didn't matter. Musilian opened his mouth as if to say something, but he didn't say anything. Forget it. I'll just go. There was only a month left until the summer vacation. Xiao Jin wanted to go on this trip not because of anything else, but because she felt that she would encounter something beneficial during this school trip. As soon as the trip came out, this feeling came out. Xiao Jin couldn't figure out exactly how beneficial it would be, because Xiao Jin was always rather vague about his own matters. But since she had this intuition, of course she would go. Her instincts were never wrong. After the Zhong siblings knew that Xiao Jin would be participating in this foreign event, they immediately signed up and wanted to go with him. Right now, Xiao Jin was under the surveillance of the spirit group. Even if they couldn't find anything wrong with her, it didn't mean that they wouldn't pay attention to her abnormal behavior. It was quite abnormal to go abroad now. After the investigation on UCK came out, Yao also told Xiao Jin about it. This time, it was Xiao Jin's special request. Although Yao was a little strange, her matters weren't a secret, so she didn't hide it. Moreover, there didn't seem to be any harm in telling someone like Xiao Jin. After seeing the reason for UCK's awakening, Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows. Because it seemed like she had contributed to it, UCK's spirit seed had disappeared, and she still had to be dealt with. Moreover, she killed her own cousin, so she couldn't live anymore. Chapter 230. Xiao Jin still had an impression of UCK. Even if she didn't, when she saw UCK, she was able to recognize her because of her karma. UCK was a weirdo. She was born in a wealthy family and was very lucky. However, her family spoiled her and spoiled her, causing her to have a supercilious personality. She had to get what she liked. If she couldn't get it, she would think of ways to destroy it. If she didn't like it, she would wantonly slander it. Xiao Jin was targeted by her in this way. She liked Musichu. Of course, with her identity, she couldn't come into contact with Musichu. She was just secretly in love with a girl in Musichu who was especially deformed. Logically speaking, a person like her shouldn't be able to awaken as a spiritual reader. After she was unlucky because of Xiao Jin's karma, she felt that the heavens were against her. Due to her bad mood, she had a strong feeling of disliking everything. UCK didn't awaken through normal means. She should have been deliberately stimulated as a spiritual reader. However, the disadvantage of this ability was that one would definitely be demonized. The consequence of demonization was to prevent the evil in one's heart from growing infinitely. Even if one could barely control it in the beginning, they would become more and more blind and cruel later on. They would only live for evil. This was why Xiao Jin dared to seize the spirit seed. It was because they weren't protected by karma at all. Just like Zhao Chunfeng, even if they were demonized because they killed people, they would become more and more blind later on. Revenge wasn't their goal, but only the beginning of their demonization. If they could be controlled, they wouldn't be demonized. This was because there were spiritual readers with tragic backgrounds who could hide and even work for the spirit group. This was the difference. Yao and the others definitely didn't know the difference between deliberately stimulating one's ability. According to their words, UCK didn't have any points to awaken as a spiritual reader. They said that she was tragic, but she was just a little unlucky recently and came from a good family. It was like her awakening was inexplicable. According to the information about UCK that Yao had given him, Xiao Jin was able to figure out the cause and effect as soon as he set up the formation. Someone saw that UCK's body was stained with karma, so they deliberately activated their abilities, causing UCK to demonize and even cast an amplification array on her. Interestingly, the other party's ability was not necessarily as strong as Xiao Jin's, but he was very good at hiding himself. She could not figure out who the other party was. In this world, other than her sworn enemy, she couldn't think of anyone else. Of course, in these 10,000 years, it was possible that her sworn enemy had taught an even more outstanding array master, but at most, he could only hide it from her. It was just like how a sworn enemy wasn't sure if he would survive. Karma was a very mysterious thing. Ordinary people could not come into contact with it at all. Even Azu of the Feng family could only see some clues at most. It was impossible to directly see a person's karma. The other party's level wasn't low. It was just that it was hidden very well. The fact that he had set up a formation against UCK meant that there was a high chance that this person was in the imperial capital. Her eyes drooped slightly. The capital. There seemed to be a hint of a smile in his murmur. It seemed that she was too high profile and caused others to feel uneasy. Well, therefore, she needed to be more high profile. This kind of thing happened a few more times. Only then would the rat hiding behind the scenes reveal his true face. Anyway, she was bored to death. Chapter 231. When she went downstairs early in the morning, Xiao Jin saw Muzilian staring at the table in a daze. Muzichu saw Xiao Jin and said lightly, "Good morning." Xiao Jin smiled and replied, "Good morning, Xiao Jin." Muzichu, who was used to her not calling him brother, nodded indifferently. Muzilian didn't say anything. He was still in a daze. Muzichu opened his eyes and asked, "What time did you sleep last night?" He woke up at 3 in the morning and glanced at his phone. Muzilian was still fighting in the game. It was only 8 in the morning and he was already awake. He didn't know if he was asleep or not. Muzilian thought for a moment and suddenly propped himself up and said, "I think I've been very strange recently. I used to have a headache when I woke up early in the morning after staying up late. Recently, I've been sleeping in the early hours of the morning. When Mom woke me up in the morning, I didn't have any reaction. He was quite energetic the whole day. When did his physical fitness become so high?" "Isn't this good?" Muzichu sneered. "You're waiting for your body to collapse before you think it's normal?" He was the little prince of the night scene. If he didn't stay up late, how could he live up to his name? Muzilian was a little confused. "No, I just feel strange." Xiao Jin sat down and began to eat breakfast. The servant served her a bowl of delicious meat porridge. She took a sip and said slowly, "Think positively of Qilian. Maybe it's the final radiance of a setting sun. The final struggle of the body before it collapsed." Muzilian. He slammed the table. "Do you know how to talk?" Xiao Jin. "No." Muzilian. "Fuck." Muzilian didn't have time to argue with Xiao Jin. Instead, he sighed. "Brother, to be honest, I really admire Grandpa. Last night, he went out to play chess with friends and came back at 2 in the morning. This morning, I heard from Mom that he woke up at 7. Don't they say that the elderly are healthy? Don't you think he's better than me? How could he be so strong at such an advanced age? Isn't he also high blood pressure? Isn't he afraid?" Muzichu. Grandpa's health was indeed amazing. Although he had high blood pressure, he didn't look like he had high blood pressure. Every day, he might not necessarily go to bed earlier than Muzilian, and he could even wake up earlier than the rooster. The key was that his body was still quite energetic. In fact, there was something Muzichu didn't say. His perception was sharper. Recently, he felt that even the servants in the house were more energetic than before. Even if they had to wake up early to prepare breakfast for them, they were still in high spirits, unlike the decadent look they had in the past. He knew that he usually studied until late at night, especially with his father's health. He had more things to learn. Every night, he would read for a long time. If it was in the past, he would not be able to take it. Recently, he would only go to bed in the wee hours after reading. There was nothing wrong with waking up early. Just like what Muzilian had said, his mental state was abnormal. Of course, neither of them knew the reason. Xiao Jian had set up a big array in the Mu family to nourish himself. For ordinary people, it was equivalent to taking advantage of a long-term health care. No matter how hard they worked, their bodies would get better and better under the nourishment of the array. Naturally, it was not a problem for them to be energetic. Even the servants who worked here had received great benefits. This was the limit of health that others pursued. Otherwise, with Musilian's practice of getting up early in the wee hours of the morning, how could he be in good spirits? It was already good enough that he didn't die suddenly. Of course, Xiao Jin didn't say anything. She kept the credit to herself. Chapter 232. Mu Xiangshan went out early in the morning and came back from a walk looking quite relaxed. Then, he saw Xiao Jin leaving after eating. He glanced and snorted coldly. Lazy bum. He only woke up when it was almost noon. In fact, it was only 9 in the morning. Xiao Jin was about to go to school after eating. When he saw Mu Xiangshan, Xiao Jin was all smiles. Facing the morning light, he looked fresh and lively. He even called out, "Old master." His tone was gentle and clear. Although she didn't call him grandpa, calling him grandpa was enough to make him sing and weep. Mu Xiangshan's entire family was shocked. He looked at Xiao Jin's back view as he left. Coincidentally, a servant came over to water the flowers in the garden. Mu Xiangshan asked, "Is there something wrong with his head?" Servant. How could he dare to say anything? Xiao Jin arrived at school and handed in the registration form for the activity. In the past, such activities were rare except for a group of outstanding students who came from good schools and ordinary families. Because the places to go were fixed, it didn't attract the interest of most students. This time, Xiao Jin signed up, Musilian and Musichu also signed up. Fortunately, they signed up late. If the news of them signing up also spread, there would probably be a lot of people fighting for the spots. There were only about 30 spots this time, and they were all arranged. However, when they found out that Musilian and Musichu were going to participate in the summer vacation activity, most of the girls in school who just got the news almost had their intestines turned green. If they knew that the handsome twins were going to go, they would have signed up. By the time they asked the teachers, the spots were already gone. The students who went became the targets of envy, jealousy, and hatred. There were even people who came up with a strange idea and spent more money to buy the spots of other students. But even if the students who went agreed, the spots weren't fixed. Once the spots were empty, the teachers might consider other applicants. The gains didn't make up for the losses. "Master, please come this way. Look, this is our school's language major. This side is German, and that side is Arabic." During the lunch break, Xiao Jin took a stroll after finishing his lunch. He saw the vice principal leading a middle-aged man in a baseball shirt and a baseball cap over to him. The man had a benevolent look. Although he was wearing a baseball cap, the exposed forehead and back of his head revealed the fact that he might be bald. The vice principal and principal both held important positions. Usually, they would not walk around in the school. Although they appeared natural, Xiao Jin could tell at a glance that the middle-aged man was not simple. It was lunchtime, and there were not many people in the building. Xiao Jin was the only one walking on the road. He did not expect to bump into a student, and the vice principal coughed. When the middle-aged man saw Xiao Jin, he revealed an amiable smile. He put his palms together and bowed slightly to Xiao Jin. The vice principal was a little embarrassed and whispered, "Master, we have an agreement." The principal was worried that there might be a problem with the feng shui. He asked someone to pull some strings and found a master who was said to have real skills to come to the school to take a look. Because he was worried that the students would be suspicious, he asked the master to disguise himself as an ordinary person and come to the school to see what was wrong with the feng shui. The principal asked the vice principal to lead the way. It would be too high profile if they appeared together, so he only asked the vice principal to lead the way. Now that they bumped into a student who had seen someone with their palms together. Chapter 233. The master smiled and shook his head. "It's okay." Xiao Jin walked closer and didn't show any curiosity. She simply said, "Hello, vice principal." He didn't even wait for the vice principal to wave his hand and walked away. The vice principal wiped the sweat on his forehead and asked, "Master, did you see anything?" The master smiled. There's nothing wrong with the school's feng shui. Vice principal. That's hard to say. Dozens of Moonlight cell phones have been reported missing. The master. Usually, it's a thief. Vice principal. There were surveillance cameras everywhere in the school. It wasn't just one person who lost their phones, but a large group. Which thief was so awesome? The master looked around. Hasn't this kind of thing been decreasing recently? Even if there was a problem, it's almost over now. The post about Xiao Jin was deleted. No one said anything bad about her, so the karma was almost over. It wasn't a big deal for the previous students to lose some money. The vice principal felt that the master's words were very unreliable. They spent hundreds of thousands to invite him. Although the vice principal didn't know what was wrong with the principal, he still felt sorry for the money. The master glanced at the vice principal and knew that he didn't believe him. He said, "If you don't believe me, you can see later." The vice principal had no choice but to agree. After all, the master was a master and he wasn't. No one knew that the school wanted to invite a master to check the school's feng shui. Xiao Jin just didn't expect him to appear in the school. When she came to this world, she felt that there were a few powerful forces. They could be considered as array masters in this world who could barely catch her eye. After Lin Xi's family matters, she asked Lin Xi to go to a place called Jingchang Temple to burn incense and pray for a jade pendant. Even if she hadn't seen him before, she now knew that the middle-aged man was the array master of Jingchang Temple. He looked kind and his karma was complete. He was a kind person. If it wasn't the wrong time, she wouldn't mind talking to this person. Since the school could invite him, it seemed that there were still many channels to investigate. After class, on the way home, Xiao Jin's cat treasure shop had 2 more customers. This time, they were attracted by Jiang Hongbin's recommendation. However, after all, there were tens of thousands of top-notch people, and Xiao Jin would definitely encounter them. Anonymous Buyer XX. You're not allowed to recommend this shop for free. I think your shop is really overcharging. I can't believe someone would buy such an expensive item. Is 600 renminbi considered a bad fortune? Are you crazy? Anonymous Buyer XX. Are you accurate? What's the latest lottery number? Tell me. I'll believe you if you win. Xiao Jin rolled his eyes and replied, "This is just an ordinary top-notch buyer. Today, dear, sure, as long as you can pay the price. You are not destined to win the lottery, so it is not recommended to consult the lottery numbers. Of course, winning the lottery depended on fate, but it wouldn't be good to say it out loud." The buyer was excited. Anonymous Buyer XX. Hey, what do you mean? I'm not fated to win the lottery? How did you know? A fortune-telling shop like yours is full of nonsense, isn't it? Isn't it just to see if your prediction is accurate? If you don't tell me, how would I know if your prediction is accurate? Anonymous Buyer XX. If I didn't see the recommendation from the shop next door, I wouldn't have come to you. You charge so much and so much. Are your comments all fake? Chapter 234. Xiao Jin really didn't like to deal with such people, but since everyone was a customer today, Kiss, you really can't. You're not destined to win the lottery. You can't even win 5 yuan. This person was a fan of lottery tickets, but his luck was extremely bad. He was not destined to win the lottery at all. So far, he had not even won 5 yuan. 2 yuan for a lottery ticket. This was heart-wrenching. Anonymous Buyer XX. Your shop is a scam shop. How dare you open such an expensive shop if you don't have any skills? Anonymous Buyer XX. And you said that I'm not destined to win the lottery. Hee hee. Are you that accurate? Xiao Jin didn't plan to reply. She opened the shop to earn some pocket money. Sooner or later, she would have a chance to become famous. This troublemaker couldn't do anything to her. She didn't reply, but the other party seemed to be quite irritable. He kept sending messages to complain. In the end, he even said that he would take screenshots and post them on the internet to let everyone see what Xiao Jin's shop was like. Today, Kiss, all the best. Screenshot it and post it on Weibo in the forum. Anonymous Buyer XX. Anonymous Buyer XX. Are you provoking me? Is this the attitude of your customer service? Anonymous Buyer XX. The tone of a fortune-telling shop is really impressive. Just you wait. I'll post it on Weibo for you. Xiao Jin waited. The other party was a middle-aged man who had nothing to do. He was old and still looked for fortune tellers on the internet all day. He was the kind of unrealistic person who dreamed of winning the lottery and getting rich one day. However, the Weibo matter made Xiao Jin have a new idea. She would occasionally look at Weibo. Originally, she had a Weibo account, but she was more casual about it and never cared about it. Since the other party wanted to post on Weibo, why not prepare early? In the future, when the business was good, she might not be able to read it. The main thing was that there were too many people, and it was impossible to read every trivial thing. She might as well pick lucky users from Weibo. Moreover, there were many such famous people on Weibo now. Xiao Jin changed her Weibo name to "You're here to get your fortune told today." Well, it was a username on Weibo and Maobao. It was simple and easy to remember. After this troublemaker, another one came. The other party also inquired about the price, but didn't take it into consideration because the price was too high. After all, Zhang Hongbin's fortune-telling shop only charged 10 renminbi. This shop charged 100 renminbi, and they were not sure if it was accurate. They would hesitate. Of course, his attitude was much better. He asked if he could lower the price. So be it. He was much better than the man from before. The middle-aged man who had consulted her before was not only a failure, but also a keyboard warrior who liked to scold people. This time, he was angered by Xiao Jin's attitude and thought that it was just a fortune-telling shop. If he exposed it on Weibo and saw the other party's attitude, coupled with complaints, Mao Bao would definitely force the other party to close down. Anyway, even if he was unhappy, he would not let this kind of customer service be happy. Thinking of this, he quickly compiled a screenshot of his chat history and submitted it to a Big V account with 5 million fans, the world's greatest reward. In order to deliberately make this shop famous, he did not hide the shop's name. He even took screenshots of the information of several other buyers, indicating that this shop had made a few more orders. He also said that only a crazy person would spend a few hundred yuan to find this kind of fortune-telling shop. Let everyone avoid the lightning. After the submission was posted, he came back an hour later and saw a reply from the Big V account. World's greatest reward V. Okay, I'll post it tonight. Chapter 235. Gao Zhou was very pleased with himself. He was the fortune teller on the internet. Since this fortune-telling shop made customers like him unhappy, it would become famous. Of course, it was malicious. Cyberbullying was very scary now. He obviously knew the consequences of his message, but he didn't care. At most, he would shut down this cat treasure shop. When Xiaojin got home, she saw Mu Xiangshan, who was very shocked because she called him Grandpa in the morning. At this moment, he looked at her with a deep gaze, probably wondering if Xiaojin had suffered some kind of shock today. Mu Zhenming still didn't come back for dinner because of work. Everyone was eating happily at the dinner table when Mu Xiangshan suddenly said, Ji Pingan's eldest son's wife has returned to the country. I heard that she'll be here tonight. Everyone, Xiao Fei's body stiffened. She knew about it, but she had never said it out loud. She didn't even know that she had said it out loud when she was drunk. Therefore, she always thought that she was the only one in the family who knew about this. Now that she heard Mu Xiangshan mention it, she subconsciously felt that this topic wasn't suitable for Xiaojin to hear. Muzillion and Muzichu glanced at each other, hiding their thoughts. Muzillion asked, Didn't you say that this auntie only comes back during the holidays? Why did she come back at this time? Seems like something happened at home, so she came back for a short time, Mu Xiangshan said casually, and Xiaojin didn't seem to have any special reaction. Xiao Fei was relieved and hurriedly changed the topic. Dad, did your high blood pressure relapse recently? You have to take care of your body. I saw you go out last night and come back so late. Mu Xiangshan glared at her. You're touching my sore spot. Do you want me to have a relapse even if I didn't? Xiao Fei felt wronged. Muzillion said, Grandpa, Mom is just concerned about you. Don't be like this all the time. You're like a contrarian. Mu Xiangshan, you little brat, say that again? However, his casual remark was still diverted from the topic. Xiao Fei was relieved to see that no one mentioned the matter of the Ji family's wife. After the meal, she felt a little uneasy. Didn't the other party say that he would only come back during the holidays? She was a little worried that he would come back at this juncture. However, She didn't have any contact with this woman from the Ji family. Especially now that she was related to Qiao Jin, Qiao Fei didn't want to see her. She was afraid that she would see a face that resembled Qiao Jin the moment she saw him. Thus, she found an opportunity to go to Qiao Jin's room. When she saw Qiao Jin, before she could say anything, Qiao Jin said calmly, "Fei Fei, don't think too much about it. I already said that we won't acknowledge each other." Qiao Fei was still a little worried. "I'm not worried about whether you'll acknowledge each other. Didn't you say that she used the child exchange to enter the Ji family? I'm afraid that if she finds out about your existence, she might do something to you." It was said that even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. However, a woman who could abandon her own daughter for a boy and marry into a rich family after being a mistress, even if Qiao Fei didn't understand, she should know that she wasn't someone to be trifled with. She had seen many people by Mu Jinming's side. How could she enter the Ji family with such an awkward identity without any tricks? Chapter 236. Qiao Fei was concerned about him. Although Qiao Jin wasn't too worried, he still smiled and comforted her. "Don't think too much. She doesn't have that ability." Her casual words showed how casual she was. Indeed, so what if she knew about her existence? She did have the ability to enter the Ji family. No matter what methods she used, Qiao Jin was her biological daughter. If she pretended not to know her when she saw her, Qiao Jin wouldn't find trouble with her. But if she did something, however, that was the worst way to think. The other party might not do that. However, the probability of not wanting Qiao Jin to be known by the Ji family was 100%. Qiao Fei was a little confused. She hasn't lived in the Ji family for so many years. Is it because her identity is still a little awkward, so she has to go abroad? It was better for her to go abroad. So many people wouldn't know about it. This way, even if someone saw Qiao Jin, they wouldn't be able to recall any similarities with her. After all, their identities were worlds apart. Just like when Ji Pingon saw Qiao Jin, he didn't think that Qiao Jin was similar to his son and daughter-in-law. Qiao Jin nodded. That might be the reason. The Ji family was a big family, and it was the kind of family that paid special attention to identity. It was already a miracle that she could be promoted. It seemed a little difficult to ask the Ji family to treat her as an equal. The other party hadn't been in the country for so many years because she wasn't welcome in the Ji family. Qiao Fei was afraid that her words would make Qiao Jin think too much. Mom doesn't mean anything by saying this. I won't have any opinions about you because of your mother's identity. You're innocent, so Mom just wants to protect you. I've already made a mistake once. I don't want to make the same mistake again. The drug incident was her negligence. This time, she would never let Qiao Jin get hurt under her nose. Qiao Jin shook his head and sighed. "Fei Fei, I've said it before. You really don't owe me anything. You don't have to feel guilty. If you feel worried, I won't let the things you're worried about happen. Don't worry, the Ji family is busy right now. They don't have time to pay attention to me." She had raised Qiao Jin for 20 years, so there was karma between them. However, there was one thing that she did not say. It was because the Ji family wasn't peaceful now. This biological mother's son was fighting for power in the Ji family. Many people wanted to find Ji Qiu's weakness and cause trouble for his son. If people found out about Qiao Jin's existence at this juncture, she could predict the future, but she could not predict herself. It was hard to say whether the Ji family would notice her or not. Qiao Fei nodded. That's true. She thought about what Mu Xiangshan said in the living room and suddenly asked cautiously, "Your grandpa and the others don't know about this yet. Should I find a time to tell them? But will they believe me?" Qiao Jin said, "You don't have to. They already know. You said it yourself when you were drunk at Feng Fei's birthday party." Qiao Fei. She was shocked. She never thought that she would expose such an important secret. Qiao Fei was shocked and scared. Fake wine is harmful. Fake wine is harmful. Qiao Jin, how could there be fake wine at that kind of event? Qiao Fei must have drunk something wrong. Qiao Fei did not know how bad her alcohol tolerance was. Chapter 237. Qiao Fei was angry that he had blurted out such an important thing when he was drunk. What made her even angrier was that Mu Jinming actually didn't tell her after he found out. He had left her alone in fear. For a moment, she didn't want to ask Xiao Jin. Of course, it was more reliable to discuss this with Mu Jinming. As for Xiao Jin, after Qiao Fei left, he saw the news on Weibo. Karma came one after another, and it was impossible for her not to sense it. The world's greatest rewards user posted a screenshot of Gao Zhou's complaint against Xiao Jin and even exposed the name of the store. Now, a small number of comments were that the author was also a weirdo, but they all agreed on one point. The fortune-telling shop must be lying. Moreover, the customer service in the screenshot said that this person was not destined to win the lottery. Anyone who saw this would be angry, but some people would never win the lottery. It was not hard to guess. They couldn't tell what this customer service employee was capable of. His attitude was also blunt. The netizens below expressed that they had learned something new. Although they thought that the author was also a weirdo, it didn't stop them from going to Xiao Jin's shop for sightseeing. One of the advantages of Mao Bao's website was that people who hadn't bought anything before couldn't comment. Therefore, a group of idle netizens came to the online store to harass Xiao Jin. Some came with a thirst for knowledge, while others came to ridicule him. Your fortune-telling is so accurate that you can even tell that people won't be able to win the lottery in their lifetime. Why don't you help me read if I can win the lottery? What era is it now? You're still using fortune-telling to deceive people? If you're really good at fortune-telling, why would you open a cat treasure shop online? Of all the things you can sell, why do you have to sell such a scam? Do you have no hands or legs? Do you need to scam people? Such an expensive fortune-telling shop? Is the shop owner here? I'll place the order first. Can you help me calculate if I'll succeed in confessing to my idol tomorrow? If you don't agree, I'll complain about you. Most of the people reprimanded Xiao Jin for being a liar, but there were also people who maintained a realistic attitude. Whether it was accurate or not, he would only know after he placed the order. He wanted to see how capable this shop owner was. She completely ignored Xiao Jin, who came to scold her. One of the people who confessed to her Prince Charming to calculate his marriage waited for the other party to place the order before replying with a few simple words. Today, it will work. Anonymous Buyer XX? Anonymous Buyer XX. Oh, really? Although I don't know if what you said is accurate, I'm quite happy that you said so. Anonymous Buyer XX. You don't even know who I'm going to confess to. How can you be so casual? After the other party replied, she realized that she didn't say anything. She only said that she would confess to her idol, and the shop owner replied that it would be successful. He was obviously trying to make her happy. Today, won't you know tomorrow if I succeed or not? Today, bring a box of tiramisu. He'll love it. Anonymous Buyer XX? She was a little confused. She didn't know how Xiao Jin could make it sound so ridiculous. Her Prince Charming was a cold and aloof Prince Charming. He was very good at his job, and it was said that he hated sweets the most. Anonymous Buyer XX, that's not very good. He's a grown man and hates sweets the most. Are you talking nonsense? Equals. Today, I'll say the same thing again. You'll only know if you try it yourself. Anonymous Buyer XX, do you mind if I take a screenshot of the chat history? If you don't allow it, I'll go to Weibo to check it out. Today, up to you. Among the people who came to Weibo for sightseeing, she was the only one who placed an order out of curiosity. Chapter 238. After all, it was just a complaint. The Weibo netizens who came for sightseeing wanted to report it, but they found that there was a very humane rule in the cat treasure shop. If you didn't buy the product, why would you report it? It wasn't that the buyers didn't have the right to report it directly. Although most people knew that the money could be refunded, 99 yuan was still expensive, and they didn't want to spend it in vain. However, there were a few people who insisted on reporting it to the end. Plus, they also wanted to test Xiao Jin's fortune-telling skills. Instead, they placed orders and asked about some trivial things from Xiao Jin. The results were self-evident. It would be fine if it was about the future, but a few of them directly asked about their own situation. Even the information given was fake. After being exposed by Xiao Jin directly, they were horrified and didn't dare to do anything else. Just like Zhang Hongbin, they suspected that Xiao Jin was a hacker. After asking some basic questions, they found that Xiao Jin could tell the future. It was simply a scalp tingling. Fuck, isn't this too fucking scary? For a moment, the fortune tellers were all shocked. Xiao Jin didn't care about them. Seeing that they couldn't say anything for a long time, and that there were people who kept harassing her, she was too lazy to look at the news. She turned off her phone and went to rest peacefully. Early in the morning, Bai Guogua dressed up meticulously and prepared to confess to her colleague and boss. The other party was her group leader. He was talented and cold, and many people in the company were chasing after him. She was the kind of girl who liked to take the initiative. Since she liked him, she had to say it. She planned to confess today. Yesterday, she thought for a long time. When she was browsing Weibo, she found that a fortune-telling shop was being criticized. Since she had nothing to do, she went to have her fortune told. The shop owner said that her confession would be successful, and she was quite happy. However, when the other party asked her to buy desserts, Bai Guogua hesitated. Her idol said that he didn't like desserts. Would it be counterproductive if she bought tiramisu? However, she still bought it. If her idol really liked desserts, it wouldn't be a problem even if she bought tiramisu, right? Of course, if he didn't like it, it would be useless to buy anything. Bai Guogua took advantage of the time when there was no one to disturb her at work in the afternoon. She took out the tiramisu and mustered up the courage to confess to him. Who would have thought that her idol would actually agree? It turned out that he had liked her for a while. When he saw Bai Guogua bring out the tiramisu, he chuckled and said, "How did you know that I like tiramisu? Tell me, how did you find out? You're really working hard in order to confess successfully." Bai Guogua was dumbfounded. It was one thing to be overjoyed by her successful confession, but she really didn't know that her idol actually liked tiramisu. She subconsciously said, "Didn't you say that you don't like sweets?" I just bought it casually." Prince Charming looked at her and smiled again. "It's a coincidence. Actually, I like sweets. It's just that it's not appropriate for a big man to eat sweets. You little girl will cover up my hobby." Bai Guogua. Ah! Not only did she fall into ecstasy, she also recalled a terrifying matter. During the fortune-telling last night, she only said that her surname was Bai and her date of birth. She didn't even say who she was going to confess to. Not only did the shop owner know that she would succeed, but he was also the one who suggested bringing her the tiramisu. Even if someone had set this up, wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Bai Guogua came to her senses. She had met a god. If this wasn't a god, she wouldn't believe it. Chapter 239. It was the first time in Bai Guogua's life that she had met such an accurate fortune-teller. It was much better than the horoscope divination and tarot card divination that she had found on the internet before. After her successful confession, she went on a date with her idol in the afternoon. She calmed herself down halfway and then posted a screenshot on her Weibo, saying that she had met a very accurate fortune-teller. It was ridiculous. She was just an ordinary Weibo user, and not many people read her posts. Therefore, Bai Guogua went to the previous post to give feedback. The owner is really awesome. It's not a joke. Attached is a screenshot of the feedback. So far, my confession was successful, and my idol really likes tiramisu. However, not many people believed it. It would be more believable if she said that her confession was successful, but adding tiramisu was not convincing. Oh, she was really a god. She even knew what people ate? How could it be so ridiculous? She had only revealed her personal information and did not even mention the person she was going to confess to. How could she know that the person she was going to confess to liked tiramisu? The netizens did not believe it, and some people even pushed Bai Guogua's comments to the top of Weibo. Trending comments meant that after people saw this Weibo post, they would continuously see this comment when they looked at the comments. Comments could also be replied to, which meant that it was a building within a building. Bai Guogua could feel her phone vibrating non-stop because someone was constantly replying to her with "at." Of course, most people said that she was ridiculous and that this kind of fortune-telling was not credible at all. Bai Guogua was probably paid to do it. Bai Guogua thought that if a fortune-telling shop hired someone to do it, wouldn't it be exposed instantly? Some people even scolded her immediately. Some people even said that she deserved to die because of how much money she had received. This made Bai Guogua's good mood disappear. She was just telling the truth. Even if they did not believe her, Why did they have to scold her? However, no matter how they scolded, Xiao Jin's fortune-telling shop would not be affected. They could not directly report it. Even if they went to the customer service of the cat treasure shop would directly say that the shop did not violate any rules. If there were no buyers who reported it, the shop could not be closed based on other people's reports. As for the customers who had originally paid to cause trouble, after Xiao Jin's fortune-telling, they didn't even dare to fart. There were also 2 people who hesitantly commented that the shop owner might be a real master, but like Bai Guogua, they didn't dare to reply and could only delete their comments. This was just a small interlude in the daily quarrels on Weibo. Usually, such things were common in various circles. There was only one group of people who refused to let go. Seeing that there was no response from the cat treasure shop and Xiao Jin did not reply to their private messages, they followed the clues and found Xiao Jin's Weibo. They left comments under her Weibo, telling her not to lie and that she would die a horrible death if she did. These people's comments did not affect Xiao Jin in the slightest. Let's not talk about whether they were lying or not. Some netizens' hostility was so great that it was understandable. It was fine to scold, but what was the point of cursing the other party's 18 generations of ancestors? Xiao Jin did not even look at the comments. As those people cursed, they discovered something even more ridiculous. Xiao Jin's fortune-telling shop had increased its price. She didn't raise the price. She just returned to the original price. Chapter 240. Her fortune-telling shop was already expensive. Now that she had restored the original price, it was basically 999 yuan per session. The people who scolded her were dumbfounded. How thick-skinned was she to raise the price? Zhang Hongbin, Bai Guogua, and the others, who had done fortune-telling before, thought that this master's price increase was expected. Instead, they were glad that they had done it quickly. Especially Zhang Hongbin. If he hadn't detected it earlier, the blood clot in his head might have killed him. However, what was the use of scolding her? It was like an internet celebrity selling expensive products or a WeChat merchant selling things. Everyone knew that it was fake, but they couldn't stand the IQ tax. It was useless to report it. Xiao Jin was certainly not a fake. It was reasonable for her to restore the original price. Those people could scold her, but it didn't affect reality at all. She even posted a sentence on her Weibo. Today you also came to fortune-telling. As long as everyone is happy, I will only say one thing. I am not someone who can be scolded. The more you scold, the faster retribution will come. Indeed, she couldn't be scolded. Just like on the forum, small things would happen to those who spread rumors about her. Of course, it was just scolding Xiao Jin, a liar, and so on. Nothing would happen. It was just a small tongue. For example, directly asking Xiao Jin's family to die for lying and asking her to die early. If she didn't suffer retribution, how could she live up to the word keyboard warrior? As soon as Xiao Jin's Weibo post was posted, there were dozens of replies one after another. Of course, everyone didn't believe it. How many people who scolded others and couldn't stand it anymore and said that scolding others or online violence would suffer retribution really suffered retribution? Everyone never believed in these things. Some people even scolded even more happily when they saw the situation. Moreover, their words were so filthy that it really made people dumbfounded. Those who didn't know would think that Xiao Jin had killed his family. There were constantly people who came to ridicule and humiliate Xiao Jin's Weibo post. The Weibo of Xiao Jin, who was unknown, had hundreds of posts. It was only a few hundred posts. Compared to the popularity of most Weibo posts, it was still too little. Xiao Jin didn't care at the moment. The things on the internet couldn't affect reality. In reality, she still lived her life as usual. At this juncture, Lin Si even looked for her. Missing isn't better than going. Master, they've gone too far with their scolding. I'm going out to clear your name. Today, why are you clarifying? If you clarify, you're going to expose yourself, and they're going to hunt you down. Today, you're just a customer. Those who scold me won't scold me for long. After a while, they'll delete their own comments. When Lin Si Liao saw this sentence, he was slightly startled. Would he suffer retribution for scolding a master? Some people had indeed scolded her extremely harshly. She couldn't wait for those people to really suffer retribution. But when the master said that, Lin Siliao felt a little creeped out. A master was indeed a master. Even his methods were so impressive. She thought that Xiao Jin had done something, but in fact, Xiao Jin had done nothing. Moreover, the master was actually considerate of her and was afraid that she would be hunted down. She was somewhat grateful. In the Musilian residence, Musichu and Musilian found an excuse to visit the Ji residence. After all, they knew a few young people in the Ji family, so it was easy to find an excuse. When they returned and saw Xiao Jin, they were still a little confused. When Musilian saw Xiao Jin, he said straightforwardly, "I don't think that Annie from the Ji family looks very similar to you." It was precisely because they didn't look alike that they suspected that Xiao Jin had guessed wrongly. Actually, she had nothing to do with the Ji family. Moreover, Ji Chiyue didn't look like Xiao Jin either. Chapter 241. Oh. Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows. Did you see her? Musilian nodded.
Yes.
Not only did they see Ji Chiyue's wife, but they also saw Ji Fanjing, the child who swapped places with Xiao Jin. They actually knew Ji Fanjing, but he took a different path from them. He had been studying abroad since he was young, and he was indeed outstanding. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a place in the Ji family. It was just that they weren't familiar with each other. They hadn't seen each other for a few years. Not to mention, they hadn't seen each other a few times before, so they naturally didn't feel familiar. The Ji family also avoided Ji Fanjing's identity. Basically, it was rare to hear of anyone who got along well with Ji Fanjing. Musichu carefully looked at Xiao Jin's face and suddenly said, "Actually, it's a little similar, but the difference in temperament was too big." Xiao Jin now had a particularly elegant and exquisite face, and she had a special aura of an otherworldly person. Her biological mother was also very beautiful. It was because of her extreme beauty that Ji Chiyue took a liking to her back then, and she even had the ability to become a mistress. All these years, because the Ji family had raised her well, it was just that compared to Xiao Jin, she had a tacky beauty. Even though their facial features were just a little bit similar, they were still distinguished by their temperaments. It was hard to imagine that there was a relationship between them. This was also the reason why Musilian didn't believe that they were really mother and daughter. Xiao Jin said, "Just because they don't look alike doesn't mean that they aren't related by blood. However, it's useless to argue about this. There's no point in seeing them." Musichu added, "Ji Fanjing looks very similar to Ji Chiyue." Musilian curled his lips. "I don't like that kid. He looks scheming." Musichu, "In such a family, if he isn't scheming, how can he survive?" Musilian, "You're talking as if the Ji family is a fire pit. Grandfather Ji's family is quite good." Musichu looked at him deeply and didn't say anything. Xiao Jin asked, "Ji Fanjing is that boy's name?" Musichu nodded. "But it has nothing to do with you." He didn't want Xiao Jin to have anything to do with Ji Fan. Even if they didn't quite believe that Xiao Jin was related to the Ji family, Xiao Jin wouldn't say it for no reason. They were afraid that they were really related. Xiao Jin nodded and asked no more. She was indeed not very interested in the Ji family. The final exams were around the corner, and she was going to be a junior in the next semester. There were still activities during the summer vacation, so Xiao Jin was busy with these things. As for the surveillance of the spirit group, who cared? The situation on the internet was still slowly fermenting. Those who scolded her would not have no reaction, especially those who felt unwell the next day. Gaozhou was the first to bear the brunt. He was the one who first complained about Xiao Jin's shop, so he didn't take it seriously. Seeing that Xiao Jin's shop hadn't been closed down by complaints, he was a little dissatisfied. However, he still had to live his life in reality. That night, when he went out for dinner, he accidentally quarreled with someone. He was a coward in reality and didn't dare to cause trouble. He wanted to let it go, but in the heat of the moment, he scolded the other party, who knew that the other party had a bad temper and fought with Gaozhou after a few words. Even if Gaozhou resisted, he was beaten up badly. Both of them were sent to the hospital and then to the police station. The other party didn't agree to peace talks. After a round of inspection, Gaozhou lost 3,000 yuan. When he was paying the bill, he suddenly saw a message pop up on his phone. Today, 3,000 yuan, so pitiful. Chapter 242. Gao Zhou's scalp went numb. He wasn't unfamiliar with this name at all. He had just voted her shop into Weibo's best reward yesterday. She was still being scolded. He didn't take her seriously at all. Then, when he was paying, she suddenly popped up such a message and said that it was 3,000 yuan. Gao Zhou couldn't help but tremble in fear. People were like this. They wouldn't know what despair was until they saw something really scary. He remembered something. She seemed to have posted something on Weibo, saying that those who scolded her would suffer retribution. His fight today was quite inexplicable. He didn't want to scold her, but he couldn't hold back at that time. Plus, the other party had a bad temper. He was the one who suffered the most. His wound was stitched up several times. It wasn't a big deal, but the loss was real. The police also said that he started the conflict, so the other party didn't have much to take responsibility for. 3,000 yuan was the limit of his basic savings. He was really unlucky. He was really unlucky. Gao Zhou reacted quickly, but his brain circuit was still different from ordinary people. He trembled as he typed. "You found someone to beat me up?" "It was you." He definitely thought that the shop owner found someone to beat him up. But how could there be such a ridiculous thing? He went to the shop himself, and the person who beat him went in before him. Could it be that someone knew the future? "Today, dear, what are you talking about? I don't even know who you are." This sentence made Gao Zhou's hair stand on end. He suddenly wanted to call the police and say that someone found someone to beat him up. This was intentional. It was intentional. However, when he raised his phone to show the police the chat history, the two sentences that Xiao Jin said had disappeared without a trace. The chat history stopped at the page where he threatened Xiao Jin. Gao Zhou was dumbfounded. Was he hallucinating? The police laughed in disbelief. "What are you talking about? You went to a fortune-telling shop and didn't pay for it. Look at this chat history. No matter how you look at it, you're a little unreasonable. Now that you've been beaten up, you're still saying that someone found someone to beat you up. Did you see the surveillance video? We saw that you were the last one to enter. How accurate is this fortune teller to be able to predict that you would enter this shop?" Gao Zhou panicked. "No, I really saw it. My medical bills cost 3,000. She sent me a message saying 3,000. If she didn't do it on purpose, how did she know that my medical bills were 3,000? The policeman felt that Gao Zhou was unreasonable. "All right, it's not over yet. Hurry up and pay the fee. We still have to go back to the station to do an investigation report." "What fortune-telling?" The police officer looked at his wound and wanted to say something, but stopped himself. He was most likely hallucinating after being hit. After all, 3,000 yuan was fatal to such a person. He would definitely think of ways to extort money from others. Instead of finding such a ridiculous excuse, he might as well find the person who hit him. Gao Zhou was taken back to the police station for investigation with a blank face. After a round of examination, the other party did not accept the compromise. According to the condition of the wound, both of them were responsible for each other, especially for Gao Zhou. Gao Zhou said it was a conflict because he had a big mouth. Later on, when he saw that the other party's attitude was even fiercer than his, he was scared. In the end, it was settled privately, and the other party only paid 200 yuan. 3,000 yuan versus 200 yuan. Gao Zhou was almost angered to death. His living expenses were all ruined. He didn't work and had no money. What was he going to do next? Chapter 243. Gao Zhou's situation was the worst, but the others didn't fare any better. Over the next few days, the people who cursed under Xiao Jin's Weibo suffered backlash one after another. They started to be unlucky, but at first, they didn't feel that they were unlucky at all. It wasn't until they lost money and suffered losses that they realized what went wrong. They were just too unlucky. Then, when they saw Xiao Jin's words, they felt a chill down their spines. Gao Zhou was the first to succumb. He sent another private message to the ultimate reward. "Sorry, it's all my fault. I was talking nonsense. I started it. Delete your Weibo." That master isn't a scammer. He didn't lie. The world's greatest reward replied to him with a... Gao Zhou panicked, but he had to say, "It's true. Delete your Weibo. Otherwise, it won't be good for you. I just cursed this shop owner. In the end, I got into a fight and ended up in the hospital. I also lost money and was sent to the police station. The other party isn't responsible. She said that anyone who curses her will be unlucky. I didn't listen to her. The ultimate reward replied, "It can't be that bad. You just happened to be unlucky?" But Gaozhou didn't dare to reply no matter what. The ultimate reward was just a Weibo post. It wasn't a big deal for this kind of submission. He was just an ordinary young man in his life. At this moment, after seeing Gao Zhou's reply, he secretly cursed him for being crazy. He got up and went to the water dispenser to get some water. He put the cup under the water dispenser and yawned. At this moment, he suddenly heard a strange sound. It sounded like something was breaking. He looked down and saw that there was a crack in the cup. In just a few seconds, the cup exploded with a bang. "Fuck!" He shouted and dodged in time. Fortunately, the broken pieces of the cup did not explode far away. Most of them were blocked by the water dispenser. There were cracks on the surface of the water dispenser, and the other pieces splashed to the side very quickly. They almost hit him. He stared at the broken cup and was stunned for a full 10 seconds before he reacted with fear. His scalp was numb, and the back of his head was stiff and cold. Then, he seemed to realize something and immediately ran to his computer to read Gaozhou's message several times. "Fuck, it can't be that bad, right? I didn't scold anyone," he muttered to himself. He had only reposted the post, not scolding the person himself. Even if retribution were to befall him, it wouldn't be retribution, right? However, he then remembered that he was the one who posted the Weibo post. If he didn't post it, there wouldn't be so many people scolding the cat treasure shop owner. Even if he didn't believe it, he couldn't help but believe it. The cup had exploded for no reason. He was a little scared. He quickly found his Weibo and looked at the comments on that Weibo post. In fact, there were only a few thousand ordinary comments. It was far from the level of being extremely popular. There were a few new comments below. "Brothers, don't cause trouble. This shop is really strange." There was another person who said that the shop was very effective, but the replies below all said that he was a scammer. Superb Reward sweated and quickly deleted this Weibo. Then, he clicked on the shop owner's Weibo and found something that made his eyeballs almost pop out. Several keyboard warriors, who were active on his Weibo and often complained about this and that with righteous indignation, apologized to the shop owner one after another. Moreover, the words were so sincere that it was obvious that he had written them himself. There was also an indescribable sense of panic. Chapter 244. Just as Qiao Jin said, those who found the source quickly deleted their posts and apologized. Those who knew the reason only deleted their posts and refused to apologize. These people would continue to be unlucky for a while. On the other hand, those who were afraid and apologized had peace after that. They didn't lose money, their items didn't break, and their bad luck was gone. This was too fucking strange. Not only that, but the spectacle of their apology also attracted the attention of passers-by. Those who scolded previously were watching. When they saw those who apologized, they sent private messages to ask about the situation and were shocked by the other party's reply. It's really strange. In this day and age, who doesn't bring their mother along when they scold others? I scolded just like that. Everything I bought these days is broken. I even quarreled with the people in the company and lost a few hundred yuan. The other things I bought from the cat treasure shop were all broken the moment they arrived. The dog at home barked when it saw me. This is too scary. I just posted an apology and the pet at home stopped barking. I really fucked the dog. I step on dog shit when I go out. Bird shit on me. My grandfather said that I've been very angry recently and asked if I've offended someone. Even if there's something wrong with this shop, I don't dare to say anything. This is too strange. Look at the few people who apologized. I'm not the only unlucky one. He said that I'll be unlucky if I scold him. This is too scary. Looking at these people's replies, some people were deep in thought. Those who didn't scold went to look at the few comments from buyers. They were all saying that the shop was super awesome and was a real master. Most importantly, even the top reward that was posted at the beginning was deleted. The hesitant passers-by entered the shop to take a look. They really couldn't afford the high price of 999 yuan. Of course, some people still didn't believe it. They felt that this might be a publicity stunt. Didn't they see the shop increasing the price after being in the limelight? However, they didn't dare to post anything openly. They were afraid that they would really meet a ghost. A few people hesitated and sent messages to Xiao Jin, saying that they wanted to have their fortunes told. Just like Xiao Jin had said, business was coming in one after another. After all, the person who scolded her apologized and didn't dare to say anything else. The fortune teller also did his best to praise her. Her peculiar appearance attracted some attention. The deleted Weibo post of the ultimate reward attracted the attention of other internet celebrities. Some of them were familiar with him and asked him why he deleted the post. It didn't affect anything. Shouldn't they keep it to earn more traffic? Could it really be a publicity stunt? Superb Reward replied directly, "Don't talk about it. That shop owner is really evil. I don't dare to provoke him. Of course, I'll delete the blog to keep myself safe." Hype? Do I have to have the ability to collaborate with him to create hype? Some people were gradually convinced, while others jumped out to court death. Some of the active fortune tellers on Weibo couldn't stand Xiao Jin's behavior anymore. Wasn't this just a publicity stunt? The appearance of an active Big V meant that they were snatching away their business. Everyone more or less relied on word of mouth to rise up. What was going on with the sudden appearance of a hyper? After all, Xiao Jin's fans on Weibo gradually increased by 10,000 as this incident spread. They were all active fans. Although most of them were anti-fans, they didn't dare to say anything. A fortune teller with hundreds of thousands of fans on Weibo jumped out, and you come today. Publicity stunt has always been shameful in the industry. If you have real talent, why don't we have a face-to-face PK divination? Chapter 245. This Xiao Jin's verified account was called Jade Pillar Diviner. She was a relatively unique minority who used the divination method passed down by her clan to perform divination. It was quite rare and had a certain degree of credibility. There were many people who sought her out for fortune-telling, as evidenced by her hundreds of thousands of fans. However, she wasn't very brilliant. Her fortune-telling methods were mainly targeted at fans with particularly unstable minds, and she was good at studying people's psychology. Coupled with a bit of fortune-telling, she could basically calculate people's needs clearly. Of course, because of this, she didn't dare to make it too difficult. Even if it was to be calculated, it would be vague and unclear. A fortune teller like her was mostly correct. For someone like Xiao Jin, who directly described the other party's situation in full detail, it was simply a terrifying existence, and no one would believe it. No one believed that she was really capable. They all thought that this was a premeditated hype, and the purpose was to hype up this fortune teller who suddenly appeared. Didn't they see the other party's shop increasing the price? It had already increased to 1,000 yuan per session. It must be known that these fortune tellers, who had been famous for a long time, only dared to charge a few hundred yuan per session. Not to mention that the other party had the so-called full package. At first glance, it was obvious that she was doing business. If she really had the ability, why didn't she just casually calculate a lottery number and win a grand prize of millions or tens of millions? Why did she need fortune-telling? Therefore, things like cause and effect were something that ordinary people couldn't come into contact with in their lifetime. Naturally, they couldn't understand the thoughts of people like Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin set Weibo to silent mode because many people would at her and privately message her. Xiao Jin found it annoying and turned it off. Only she would occasionally be interested and go on Weibo. Perhaps she would reply when she saw the news. She didn't look at Weibo at the moment, so she didn't know that someone had challenged her. Moreover, some things were much more lively in reality. When Mu Zhiming came back that night, it was especially rare for him to talk about work. Of course, this work matter was related to the Feng family. The Feng family had a batch of goods that was found to be in violation of regulations when they were sent back to China. The nature is a bit serious, and a group of people will probably be implicated. When Mu Zhiming mentioned this, Mu Xiangshan looked at him and was obviously a little surprised. What goods? Mu Zhiming said, they mistakenly caught a batch of wild animals under the first-class national protection. They thought that they were artificially bred, but in the end, they weren't. The main responsibility should be on the person who forged the certificate and sold this batch of goods to them. But because it was the Feng family head's responsibility, This time the higher-ups set an example. The person in charge of this matter is Feng Bai. If nothing unexpected happens, he should be arrested. Mu Xiangshan was a bit solemn. The Feng clan hasn't been settled? Logically speaking, this matter might be serious for ordinary people, but it shouldn't have happened to the Feng family. It's hard to say. I heard that the higher-ups haven't relented. No matter how powerful the Feng family was, it was impossible for them to cover the sky with one hand in this country. There must be other families involved in this matter. Feng Yibing only got into trouble because of this, and his father was about to go in as well. Catching a wild animal protected by the country was a serious matter, and he would be sentenced. Let's not talk about how many years it would take. Feng Yibing getting into this matter was a wake-up call. If it was the Feng family of the past, how could they suffer such a small matter? Since Feng Yibing had gone in, it was obvious that a lot of people had been caught. Muzillion couldn't help but sigh. Why do I feel that after Feng Yibing's death, the Feng family has started to have bad luck? Not long ago, there was a Feng family member who beat up people abroad, and after being bailed out, he went in again. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.